Here we go. This is another episode of the Uncivilized Art Podcast. I'm your host, Bumi Hazan, but I go by Bandit Haze in the online space, and we're going to be talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Or is it actually Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever? I'm not sure what the official title is. I probably should have looked that up beforehand, but in any case, Wakanda Forever. And of course, got to represent, Black Panther sports shirt type running thing got on today. It is a little bit cold, so I might put my sweater on in a moment, but for now, my man Sweet Bundy's with me. Big up for coming through. Appreciate you and all that you do. Dude, how is you doing today, sir?
Well,
Well, I mean, I
COVID.
guess I kind of know a little bit, but
Well, COVID finally caught me at work.
oof.
Unfortunately, even though I've been wearing my mask, I haven't been taking off my mask unless I take a sip of water, been washing my hands, hand sanitizing, all that. And thankfully, I got vaccinated. Otherwise, my ass would be in the hospital right now
Mm.
because, man, this is kicking my ass. But other than that, I'm ready to do this. And yeah.
Awesome. I want to mention something about it actually real quick, but before I do, just for anybody listening, so yeah, we're going to be talking about Black Panther Forever. I'm going to be trying to talk about it as much detail as possible. So yeah, there's going to be spoilers. I'll give you guys a warning for when the spoilers are coming up ahead. So that's going to be a bit later on. But yeah, just with the COVID stuff, some of my family members got it, and my mum got it as well. This is maybe more than a few months ago. It was a little while ago now. But yeah, just like I said, she was vaccinated, and I think that helped. I mean, I know
Mhm.
people have different opinions on the vaccination, and I'm not trying to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. That's not my place. But just going from what I've seen, my mum got vaccinated. She's 70 years. Well, she's 71 now. Was 70 at the time. Um, you know, and when she got COVID, it was like you wouldn't even know she had it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
she wouldn't even know she had it. The only reason why she got tested because my brother had it, so we all had to get tested. And it turns out she had it, and some other people had it as well. But yeah, it's like, I mean, maybe that's just how she would have reacted to it anyway, with or without the vaccine. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But she was vaccinated, and yeah, yeah, I got through it pretty fine. So grateful for that. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully hopefully just passes you by too. Apparently it's all weaker strains now, so I guess that's a good thing, or a better
Yeah,
thing.
I
Maybe
mean,
not a good
I've
thing.
noticed people been getting infected lately. It's crazy. It's like another surge, but this is the first time I got hit. So I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm like that 50 Cent meme. Like, why you said fuck me for? Because I didn't ask for this. I didn't do anything. I don't even go out like that. I went to the to see the movie, but like I'm
Oh wait,
telling
did
you, when
you?
I go,
Was it when you got when you see the movie? You got it. Oh,
nah, I got it at work. And the way
oh,
how I found out that was at work was because first off, I'm very cautious when I go out, right? If
yeah.
I go to the movie theater, especially like, because I rarely go out. So when I went to the movie theater, I'm like extra cautious. I don't even touch anything if I can help it. And anytime I do, I already got hand sanitizer. I don't even eat popcorn. I don't do any of that. So um, when I spoke to my boss, she told me, "Oh, one of the coworkers had it." And I'm like, "Well,
Oh,
shit, you should have told me.
for
You should have
real.
told all of us."
Let people know. Like, oh shoot, man, damn.
Yeah, I could have stocked up on shit. Not, I'm not gonna be an asshole and go to the store and buy all this shit and then risk infecting somebody else. So I have to order Uber Eats, get my
Mm.
stuff like that. But then these motherfuckers, uh, they they get things wrong. You know,
What delivery orders and stuff.
Yo, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mean to get too sidetracked,
No, no, no.
so
It's
I'll
okay.
be
It's so
brief.
good. I got time
yes,
today, so.
yesterday I ordered Mucinex for the throat because my throat was killing me. It's hurting right now, but it's not to the point where I can't talk. Yesterday I could barely talk.
Mm.
So I ordered Mucinex, throat coat tea, um, ice cream, and some orange juice. They had no ice cream. That's fine. All right, fine. Uh, the Uber Eats driver sent me a picture. She was like, "Hey, they don't have the one that you want. So, is there any that you see that you would like?" the picture's blurry as hell. So I said, listen, I can't really make out what it says, but I see two Mucinex there. Give me either one. Boy,
Yeah.
when she brings me the shit, she's all proud too. She's like, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Uh, I look at it, I get upstairs, I look at it. The Mucinex is for chest. Now think about it. My throat is fucked.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you want me to cough up all this phlegm with a fucked up throat?
Oof.
And then I said, you know what? At least I got the orange juice.
Mm. Get that vitamin
I
C,
look
man.
at the orange juice. It's
Okay.
expired over a
Oh,
month.
a month,
Yeah.
and they're still selling it.
Hey, that's a regular thing in America, or at least in New
What?
York. Don't make me laugh. But yeah, that's a regular thing in New York, man.
Oh, mate.
Man, when I saw that, I was so mad. I was like, yo, when it rains, it pours.
Oh, for real, man. You know, I did Uber Eats deliveries pre-COVID and during the lockdown as well.
Mhm.
And I would say like the one thing that sucked um, that you know since the lockdown happened. So before, when you're doing the Uber Eats deliveries, you turn up at somebody's place. You know, it doesn't happen often, but every now and then they don't answer the door. You call them, they don't answer the phone. They're just nowhere to be found. You checking the address, you're right. You're checking it's the right place, all that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, nobody's answering the door. Nobody's answering the phone. Now, if that happens, the rule was that you have to wait at least 8 minutes, and if they still haven't contacted you or anything else like that, you can just like cancel it. You'll still get paid for the delivery, and then you're supposed to dispose the food, right? You know what I mean? You get free meal. What it comes down to. So like that, like I say, it doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then it's like, all right, Carl, there's some chicken in here. Let me see what they got. You know what I mean? When they did the lockdown, and everybody on social distance and this and the other, the rule was like you had to leave the food at the doorstep and take a step back, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't matter whether they were there or not. It's like there's no chance you get no free food anymore. It's like there was just no. It's like because you have to put it on their doorstep, take a picture or something like that, and then let them know you got it, and then you just pretty much just go away. And I was like, flipping out, man, flipping out. Damn COVID messing up everything, man. Flipping out, you know. But yeah, it was yeah, it was a lot, man. It was a lot. But dude, I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you uh being a little, well, maybe I don't know if a little bit sick, maybe more than a little bit sick. Hopefully not too sick to do the podcast though.
Nah, I'm here. I'm here.
But that's still coming through. All right, so yeah, so we're going to talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Hmm.
We're going to get some spoilers in a little bit and all kinds of many details as we can. Before that, though, just as a very basic non-spoiler review, no, you don't want to give away too much. For anybody who hasn't seen it, that might be thinking about seeing it, don't want to give away anything. No plot points, no story things like that, but just a basic, general, non-spoiler review of your opinion for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Got you. You know, uh, it's kind of like straightforward of what to expect when you're going for this movie. At least they're gonna have that, but they're also gonna have more. What I mean by that is don't sit there and think that you know exactly how the movie is gonna go. I'm not trying to overhype it. It is a good movie. And Letitia Wright really surprised me with her performance because first off, I didn't really like her because of the whole controversy that was going on. Uh, you know,
Okay, yeah,
ironically about COVID and the
yeah,
vaccine
yeah.
and all that. I didn't like that because very short. You know what? I'll save that for another, like later on. But anyway, I had problems with her, but I can separate the person from their performance or their art.
Mm,
And she really did her damn thing in this movie. Like her performance, really good. I mean, shit, almost everybody was great, if not everybody. Even the people that you can't even understand, they only got the subtitles. Great acting.
mm.
Oh, the tribute. Pretty much, everybody's expecting that. Everybody knows that's coming. Very touching, very unique the way how they did it. And The trailer didn't show everything, which is great. Great. I mean, I didn't watch all the trailers. I only watched the first one. So, um, with this movie, you'll go in there and you'll have an experience. You'll be like, wow. And that was almost 3 hours, really? And didn't feel like it. Like, it's a good movie. Um, it makes me wonder, like, is this going to be the last of the Black Panther movies? Because, you know, we can't really talk too much about that. Yeah.
Maybe we'll say that to the next bit
Yeah.
for the
But
not for the yeah.
that's the thing. Like,
Mm.
that should give you an incentive to go and watch this movie because, it's in its own lane. And it's going to be hard not to compare it to the first one. But honestly, it's unfair to compare it to the first one. And I can't help but compare it to the first one as well. With that said, separating this movie, and that's why it's not. I don't even think it's called Black Panther 2. I think it's just called Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. So I think with it being it's considered like its own film. It's almost like you got Batman Begins and then Batman Dark Knight. Well, shit, no. Let me take that back because everybody knows Dark Knight is amazing. My bad. Scratch that. Scratch that statement. Let's pretend it didn't even happen. Wakanda Forever, look at it as its own kind of movie
Mm.
if you can, so you can enjoy it for what it is. And you don't have to sit there and keep thinking about what could have been, what should have been, etc., etc.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I think I'd agree with most of that. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really good. Um, I know there was a lot of controversy about, recast T'Challa and that whole thing, and we could talk about it in a little while as well. But
Yeah.
I did feel I felt they did pretty much the best they could do given the circumstances. That being said, I do have a few minor gripes, or maybe not gripes is the wrong word to use. I don't. It's not. I don't know if it's that strong a feeling, but certainly a few things that. Well, we'll get into that a bit
Mhm.
later. But overall, yeah, it's definitely a really enjoyable film. Really beautiful film. And yeah, Letitia Wright was amazing. Angela Bassett was amazing. Um, they really just pulled out, and I think you could say this without really. I don't think it's not like a spoiler either, but because of what happened, Chadwick Boseman passing away, and because of their real life connection with him, I do feel like kind of thing. I know I'm not the only one who said this as well. You do feel like in certain scenes you can feel like their real emotions coming through. Where it's like it's not just acting; they're in character, but they're not just acting. You know what I mean? There's a
Mhm.
real rawness coming through at times that they capture. So yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. Um, and yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have different opinions on this, that, and the other. And again, we'll talk about a lot of those some of those in a moment. But yeah, putting all that aside, like you say, go in no expectations. Like any movie, really should just go in and have as little expectations as possible. Um, Enjoy it for what it is,
Mhm.
and yeah, don't worry about whether they're going to do this or they do that, or you thought they were going to do this and they did this instead, and maybe they should have done this and they should have done that. I get it. We all going to have opinions on what they could have done or should have done, and that's fine. But as far as what they did goes, in my opinion, pretty damn good. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that bit done. Now we need to get into this movie and tear it apart as much as possible.
Mhm.
So yeah, anybody still watching and or listening, if you've not seen it, we are going to get into some spoilers. So you may want to come back to this podcast after you've seen it, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you've seen it already, you want to join in the conversation, then or by all means. Also, to point out as well, you mentioned that you've seen it twice. I've only seen it once. I have watched like a bunch of like reviews and stuff like that, and trying to get different views and opinions to refresh my memory on things and make sure that what I was
Mhm.
thinking is as accurate as possible. That being said, if I say something or any of us makes a mistake or maybe misremembered something or whatever, let us know in the comments. It's all good. But yeah, this film is still pretty fresh in the cinema as we are recording this podcast. So let's start with this. In a bit more detail, then, what did you think worked really well in this film?
I mean, the most obvious is just the emotions, the way how they reacted to, um, Black Panther being dead, to T'Challa being dead, because they had to actually deal with that. This is somebody that they've grown close to, not just because of the first Black Panther movie, but in general, they were friends. Um, and then you have to admire the fact that like Chadwick Boseman didn't really tell many people that he had cancer,
Mm,
and to see that he went through that vigorous training to have that large physique, despite having cancer, stage 4 cancer at that. Because cancer eats you up. It puts you down to skin and bones. So for him to build up that much muscle, even while that his health was that bad, it was remarkable to say the least.
mm,
So I think that, with that in mind, it lets you know the type of person that he was. He was so dedicated to this art. And I think that respect, that love and care and everything, those bonds that they made, it helped really, deliver like a great performance with the
mm,
loss of this character. Because you see, the thing is, when characters die in these kind of movies, superhero movies, you never really mourn them because you're like, they're gonna come back.
mm.
You know, it's almost like common sense. It's like they're gonna bring them back, especially if it's a major character.
It's like getting
You know,
fired in WWE. You know, just a 6 months
exactly.
holiday, they're coming back.
Yeah. So but with this, it's a whole different vibe. I don't think that there was any superhero movie that can pull this off where you really feel that that this is it, like this person's actually gone.
Mm,
And I think you know that I hate to say, for a lack of better words, that was the advantage that this film really had. The fact that Bozeman actually passed away, that's in our minds.
yeah,
So when you're watching this and you're seeing the funeral and everything, it's almost like you're seeing a funeral for him, not just for his character but for him too,
yeah,
because you're seeing his face on the murals. And even with the opening, when they showed the Marvel logo,
yeah.
they showed highlights of his career and everything, MCU career, pieces of the script, all of that. And it was done in silence. There was no sad music, none of that. And it was like, damn, like when you're sitting there, it's almost like you got to really take it in. Like, yeah, this man's gone.
Mm,
And unfortunately, another thing is when it comes to uh movies such as this, again, they never hit death on the head perfectly, because again, comic book characters always come back alive. But with this guy being you know dead in real life, there's none of that. So you really get in the shoes of Shuri, for example, Shuri's mom, Ramonda, um Okoye, who,
mm,
you got to think about it too. They've experienced this multiple times at this point.
yeah.
When he almost died in the first one, he disappeared for 5 years, et cetera, et cetera. Like, man, it really puts you through the emotions, is what I gotta say.
Mm,
And now that I'm talking about it, I think it's a great thing that they didn't recast him, because as much as people love T'Challa, you could always have another kind of T'Challa, which
mm,
we'll get into a little later. But the way how they did this was very respectful. It didn't seem like they were trying to market off his death. It seems like whoever wrote this was coping with it, and was like, because it came off very sad at times. Like you could see them trying to be optimistic and having the whole Marvel tropes and shit, but overall it was like really sad. Like you could always feel that sense of like emptiness, you know? And yeah, I think that's what I remember the most from the movie, honestly. It's just that feeling of like death and dealing with it, accepting it, and move and having to move forward, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely that was a theme. And I guess part of that theme would have been, I mean, from my understanding, not much of the script was changed from when it was originally written to have Chadwick Boseman versus what we saw. Of course, the funeral scene was added, and dialogue here and there is changed to fit that in, but the general story was mostly the same. At least from what I've seen, I don't know how factually accurate that is, but this is just things that I've seen online. And assuming that's the case, then I imagine the film would have kind of dealt with death and moving on from death with Ramonda passing, because I assume that probably was going to happen in the original script. But with that, and then with T'Challa passing away, and of course Chadwick dying in real life, you have this overwhelming theme of death, grief, acceptance, moving on, and they do kind of touch into, maybe they don't really delve into it that much, but they do kind of touch on the idea of what happens after death as well. Where Shuri's talking about not really believing in an ancestral plane,
Hmm.
as a thing that exists. So this idea of when we talk about death and we talk about religion, heaven, hell, and or all these sorts of things, like what happens, and we all have different beliefs on what happens. And in Shuri's case, being the scientist and being more scientifically minded, um, I assume what they're trying to go for. Again, they don't really delve into it too much, but I assume what they're trying to go for is the idea of her being more, thinking more logically about things, and deciding that if I can't prove it, I don't believe in it. And going along that route. And I do feel like it's kind of a shame it didn't push on that just a little bit more, on the idea of whether or not this is real, and belief versus what you can prove and that sort of thing. But like I
Hmm.
said, they still made a pretty good movie, so I'm not trying to knock it, but at the same time, like I said, we all got ideas of what they could have done and what they should have done. So those are some thoughts that I had. But yeah, certainly, and I agree with what you said about how their emotions, their real life emotions, come through, and that does work well. And the unfortunate truth is that they were dealing with a real person that passed away, and that is what you are seeing, or at least to my eyes, that looks like what we're seeing. Um, and yeah, it does make for the, say, acting, if you will, to just have that much more reality to it. And what I mean. It's just an unfortunate thing that sometimes these tragic events leads to great art. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that happens throughout lots of different examples. Where tragedy can lead to amazing work. And in this case, it's the death of one actor and the people's real life feelings for that actor, and that coming through in the movie. And as you're a viewer watching the movie, you become really drawn into these scenes when they're talking about it, and just little tiny details, like how their eyes would like shiver just a little bit, or their mouth would just a tiny little bit, and because
Hmm.
it almost feels like they're struggling to maintain themselves at times. You know what I mean? Like it almost feels like they when they're acting, because one of the things that actors do, and I'm sure you know this, is that you draw on real life experiences, as an actor, right? And in this
Hmm.
case, not only you draw on a real life experience, you're drawing on a real life experience that happened not that long ago, so it's still fresh. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think a lot of that just comes through, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it comes through in these scenes. And yeah, the end result is that you have a film where you're watching it and just feel like you feel what they're feeling, you know, you feel what they're going through, you feel their pain and how it's translated through. Well, you feel it as much as you can feel it, of course, but you know, as it's translated through the screen. And yeah, there's a few scenes in that movie where they're just like brilliant, just really drawn in, and you know, you're not even thinking about comic book movie, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how does this relate to the, you're not thinking about any of that. You're just just focused on Shuri and her emotions, or Angela Bassett and her emotions, and Okoye as well. The scene where she's being stripped of rank, general rank. You know, just
Mhm.
seeing how much it, you know, it is in there, and it's yeah. But there's a few just standout scenes for me that are just incredible. What I'd also say I think worked well with this movie as well is, um, you know, of course the regular stuff like, you know, the action scenes are cool and that whole thing. Um, I think they had a really cool villain. There's some things about the villain that I'll get to as well, but let me talk about the good stuff for now. um, with the villain, I like that. Or let me not call him a villain because I don't think that's quite accurate. But the antagonist of the film, Namor, I like the idea of this whole civilization that existed for hundreds of years that nobody knew about, not even the Wakandans knew about. You know, and they're also a vibranium rich society as well. I like the idea of that they just exist and they've just been there keeping tabs on the world, doing their own thing for all this time. And then when it comes to it, it's like that because Wakanda could look at the rest of the world and be like, yeah, we could take them on. We could take them on. They ain't got nothing. We got this. We got that. But they're looking at the Talakans, and it's, well, we don't know nothing about them. You know, we literally know nothing about them. And they've been there all that time, but apparently they know a lot about the Wakandans, right? They've been keeping
Mhm.
tabs on everything. So I like the idea of this enemy that is not just formidable but also unknown, because that adds like an extra dynamic to it of, if it comes down to it, can you beat them? You know what I mean? And as you're watching it, you have to, you kind of, they come up with all these things of what might work and the dehydration, this and the other. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. But can you actually beat them? You know, because but the way they roll up on them is like, you know what I mean? The way they just turn up on their doorstep like wagwan. um, what did you? Oh, sorry, one sec. Yeah, we go. Cool. What did you feel didn't work in this film?
A few things. Riri, Riri
Mm-hmm.
Williams. I feel like, don't get me wrong, she had funny moments, but sometimes her comedy was misplaced. It was almost like a producer said, "No, you gotta have somebody in there making a joke. You gotta have somebody in there doing a joke. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
this is Marvel." And also, I feel like I think Doom originally was supposed to be in this. It feels like that
Oh,
because
Doctor Doom.
yeah,
Okay.
because there were rumors about him supposed to be in like a post credit scene, and if he was in this, it would kind of make sense because Riri Williams was talking about um, that she made that whole vibranium thing for a professor. And normally, when they have lines like that, they always go back to it. Like it, you know, otherwise they would have gave her a different reason.
Mm.
Um, an example of like them going back to shit, like, remember when Okoye said to one of the fellow warriors, like, uh, why are you using the whole daggers or
Oh
whatever she
yeah,
was
yeah.
using that Shuri gave her. It's like, you're supposed to be using a spear. And then later on she tells her, you could use whatever you want or something like that. So you see like little minor lines that stands out somehow, they always go back to. So I was
Mm.
thinking like Riri feels so forced in this movie,
Yeah.
and like the only way it would make sense is if you had Doctor Doom involved somehow, like Doctor Doom was using her to make that shit or whatever the case may be. and they probably just took him out because they wanted this movie to focus more on the heart of it rather than just be another Marvel movie. And like, hey, guess what? Now this is coming up. Um, with that said, uh, Namor, there's a couple of things with him, man.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, he's a good antagonist, but sometimes like I was listening to him, and I'm just like, man, you don't make no fucking sense. First, he's like, I don't want anybody finding out about us. And then he's like, and if you talk about us, I'm gonna come and kill y'all. I'm tired of this shit. And then he's like, you know what? I want this scientist. I I don't want her telling anything about us. So then they go and get the scientist, and then he's like, you know what? I don't trust y'all. I'm gonna attack y'all and then kidnap the princess. So, no, actually, no. I
Well,
scratched that. He didn't
kidnap
kidnap
her.
her,
Yeah.
but he was like, I'm gonna attack y'all while y'all getting the scientist that I asked y'all to get.
Mm.
And then he's like, now I want to kill everybody on the surface. It's like, yo, you make no fucking
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shuri even told him, listen, we could do this peacefully. We can't let you kill that girl. Like, the same way you scared you went up to the queen and you said, yo, if y'all talk about us, we gonna kill you. You could just do that to the girl.
Mm.
Do that to Riri. At least with the queen is different. The queen is the queen, so she'll be more likely to buck before a damn regular ass civilian. All right, if a civilian saw you floating somehow with these low ass wings on your ankles and a bunch of blue people standing there fucking singing and making people commit suicide, yo, trust me, she's gonna shut the hell up. Matter of fact, she'll throw away. She'll probably go ahead and take a whole new career. Probably go into NASCAR or something. Um,
Singing.
shoot, she ain't.
If you
She
got
ain't
that
trying to.
reference, by the way, put it in the comments.
She ain't trying to go ahead and do any of that crap with Namor. So that's why it didn't make sense to me. I didn't like that. Um, what else? Um, yeah, the comedy. Listen, I don't want the movie to be serious the whole time, right? Some of the comedy was good, but it kind of fell out of place, especially with Riri. Like every single time she made a joke, it felt out of place. Even when it made me chuckle, I was like, you know, it's like you made me laugh, but
Yeah.
it was a cheap laugh. Like with the whole ash ball head, it made no sense because her head wasn't ashy. It made no sense. If she said something about like if she made a joke like that there was this one model back in the 90s that she was like tall, African, and shaved head. You know what I'm talking about? She's like very dark skinned.
I mean, I've
Wow.
probably seen a
You're
picture of
you're
her,
gonna
but
be so mad. You're gonna be so
I
mad
don't
when you
pay that.
remember who it
I
is.
don't pay that much attention to models back then. Oh, maybe like a couple, but yeah, not enough to name them.
I get it. I get it. But you should at least know who I'm talking about, even if you don't remember by name. And I'm telling you, if I find out who it is, you're gonna be so mad at yourself. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, all
If it weren't
right.
Naomi Campbell,
But I think this woman used to date Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. And anyway,
oh wait, I think I know you're talking about Grace Jones.
Grace Jones, maybe. Let
Grace,
me
she
let
was
me
in
Google
James Bond movies. I think
Grace
she had a few
Jones.
songs out as well. Did she have a bald head though? I don't think she had a bald head actually,
Yeah,
or maybe at
yeah.
one time she might
No,
have.
you're right. You're right.
She might have one time had a bald head, but she mostly had a shaved head, I think.
Yeah. If she had said something like that, like coming in here looking like
But did
Grace
she date?
Jones or
I don't know
whatever.
if she dated Arnold Schwarzenegger. By the way, the only reason that I don't know why I made that connection when you mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have no idea whether she dated Arnold Schwarzenegger or not. But for some reason, it just clicked in my head. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Grace Jones. I don't know why. Maybe they dated, maybe they didn't. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Grace Jones. That might be, or maybe not be who you're talking about.
Let's see. No, it is who I'm talking about for sure.
It is okay, cool.
Um, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna try to look and see if they dated or not, but I know for sure they had
Whatever.
some kind of connection. But my main point is, she said something like that, I would have been like, all right, you had to work for that joke. That was good, but still, it kind of felt a little bit out of place. I wouldn't mind subtle comedy
Mm,
or even like M'Baku. Like I like his scenes. His scenes was kind of funny.
mm,
It didn't feel cheap. It felt genuine. Like this guy's always like this. This guy's always on that bullshit.
They call him Cuckoo Clan.
Always being cocky, arrogant, coming in there talking shit, and then they do he, yo, that's where the comedy was good. When
Mm,
he came in, because like that shit reminded me of families. Like when somebody passes away in a family, and then you have like maybe a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, and everybody's together, and then arguments starts up. That's what it reminded me of. It's
mm,
like everybody there, they love each other, but they're arguing right now. It's fine, and those scenes I loved. So it's not like I'm opposed to comedy.
mm.
Um, what else? Oh yeah, Shuri with the fucking ship at the end. That made no sense. I'm
Oh,
not
when they
talking about the
call off the fight.
spaceship. I'm talking about when the Wakanda showed up on the big uh the big battleship.
Right, yeah.
It's like even if you have that technology and it caused them to rise from the water, you're going on a huge body of water to fight the people who may be having all types of technology to fight against your shit in their land. Like, no. If anything, Shuri should have somehow baited them away and then attacked.
Mm,
That would have been smarter. But whatever. They needed to progress the plot. I get it.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we're just talking about things I didn't like. That's the only things that comes to mind right now.
Okay,
Those are
cool.
the only things I didn't like.
That's fair enough. But yeah, we'll could talk some more stuff in a bit. And I was just thinking about with the Grace Jones. If you said they could have mentioned a Grace Jones joke, they do actually make a Grace Jones joke or comment rather in the first movie. In the opening scene of the first movie, they refer to like Zuri when he's undercover. He looks through the peephole of the door and he refers to Dora Milaje as these Grace Jones looking chicks.
Yo,
So
that's
perhaps that's why
fucking
they did it.
hilarious.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe they don't want to do the
But
same
it could
thing
have been a
twice. So
callback. It
yeah.
could have been a callback. Fuck it.
But yeah, could have. I mean, there's ways you could do like same comments like multiple times and have it work. Other times I think it's like a tricky thing to do. If you do it too many times, it's like it just is it's awkward. Or if you do it in the wrong way, sorry, it's awkward. But there's ways you could pull it off where you can make the same comment multiple times and it just works. But I don't know, maybe they couldn't think of a way to make it work. So maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it has to be a Grace Jones joke because, you know, honestly, if Riri had said that, I probably would have been like, how the fuck does she know Grace Jones?
Mm.
Her young ass.
Um, yeah. So for myself, you're right.
Yeah.
You still good?
Yeah, I'm good.
So for myself, then, like I say, a few things didn't quite land for me. But overall, yeah, I did enjoy the movie. Yeah, Riri. I didn't. I mean, I thought she was okay, but she did feel a bit, like you said, a little bit out of place. Like a lot of her didn't feel like she really needed to be there. I get, of course, she's the scientist. I get that, of course, and the scientist that made the thing, whatever they call it, the vibranium detector machine. Um, but she just kind of felt like she was only. I mean, maybe not only, and maybe I'm being a bit too critical here, but it did feel like she was mostly just there because they needed somebody with an American accent or something, or what I mean, like an actual American. It just
Yeah.
felt like they just needed somebody to be a bit more Black American culture in the movie, versus everyone else being a generic African representation culture. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, overall, I guess she was okay. But okay, the main things that didn't really work for me was just the fact that a lot of this movie, if you're following like the kind of reasoning of Namor, didn't actually need to happen, because the events of the story is that from the first movie, at the end of the first movie, T'Challa's talking about helping the world and allowing them access to vibranium and the technologies and stuff like that, right? By the time we get to this movie, we found out that they haven't been doing that, or at least not to the satisfaction of the rest of the world, right?
Mm.
So America were like, well, let's see if we could go find our own vibranium, and that's where they get this vibranium detector. They go looking for it. They come across it in the middle of the Atlantic, somewhere ocean or some place, and that's where the Telecons like, no, 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 we can't have this. Destroy them, get rid of them. Now at this point, of course, nobody knows about the Telecons, so they all think it's the Wakandans that are doing it, right? And because Wakanda don't know about telecons, USA don't know about telecons, nobody knows about the telecons at all. They all think it's Wakanda, right? That took out the CIA guys. So Namor decides, okay, well, we need to kill the scientists so they don't make no more of these weapons. All right, calm. He could have done it himself. Like, there was no reason for him to go to Wakanda and say, go bring me the scientists and keep us a secret. It's like, you didn't actually need to reveal yourself to them, you know, because for a nation that clearly keeps tabs on the rest of the world, that knows what's going on, they know about Wakanda, they know about America, they know about all these places. They could have got to to reread themselves. You know what I mean? Like they could have done that themselves, had it taken out, and just let Americans fight it out with Wakanda, and no, be none the wiser. You know what I mean? There was actually no reason for him to go to them to ask them to do something that he could have done himself, exposed himself to them, and now asking them to keep them a secret, which means he's now given them a leverage over him, which they just never needed because they never knew he was there and nobody was looking for them. You know, he just exposed himself for no good reason. So that
Yeah.
was that's my biggest thing. The next one was like, okay, so they go to get Riri. They find it out. Like you said, they kind of attack them for no reason, but okay, whatever. They attack them. They take them down to their underwater palace cave thingy, and then this whole scene with Namor talking to Shuri, turn about, his history and not smallpox. Or was it smallpox? I can't remember. They were spreading diseases with the Spanish conquistadors. By the way, that was a pretty cool callback as well. I'll come back to that. Let me not distract myself too much. That was a pretty cool callback to the first movie. But let me come back to
Mm.
that. But anyway, so he's telling about their whole history, and she's talking about that she's not going to kill, kind of find a diplomatic solution, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. All that time, they could have killed her.
Yep.
They could have just killed her. Like, they did not need to be talking it out with Shuri. They just could have killed her. And then he's talking about, oh yeah, if you do this, we can join forces and take on the world or whatever. But if you don't, then you be my enemy and I'll destroy you. So hold on a second. Like, if you now, regardless of whether they can or can't at this point, if you believe that your army is strong enough to destroy Wakanda, and then with that you're strong enough to take on the world, again, why do you need them? Like, what are you doing talking to them? It seems like he's doing all these things, and he has all these reasons behind it, but his reasons don't quite match up. So yeah, that was the biggest thing that just didn't land for me. Like, he just had no reason to involve the Wakandans in the first place. Certainly had no reason to negotiate with them. And when he does turn up on their doorstep and he smashes up their place, and Ramonda gets killed again, why are you coming back in a week? He's like, I'll give you a week. Like, why? Why are you giving them a week? What for? You've already got the upper hand. You've already got a drop on them. What are you giving them a week for? Like, to what end? It's just like he did a whole bunch of things that just didn't. But yeah. But yeah, like I said, let me mention this real quick because I thought it was a real. I watched the first movie again, and this is kind of where I spotted. There's a scene where Ulysses Claw, was talking to Everett Ross about Wakanda and vibranium, and he mentions that the conquistadors, Spanish conquistadors, were going to South America to look for El Dorado because they thought it was there, but it was actually in Wakanda and Africa, all that time. That's actually true. Spanish conquistadors did go to South America looking for the city of gold, El Dorado. That's a true thing. And then when when he's talking about his backstory in this movie, it was the same kind of time frame of the Spanish conquistadors going to his place, spreading diseases. His mum got sick and they drank the thing out the ocean, and it gave them vibranium on the inside, turned them blue because they actually needed water. Now they can't survive. That whole thing. But yes, I just thought that was a nice, cool kind of subtle reference, or subtle a connection with the first movie. How it's mentioned in the first movie, and then it's kind of mentioned again in the second movie. So it's all about that kind of time frame of the Spanish conquistadors looking for El Dorado, thinking it was in South America, but it was actually in Africa. And then while they're in South America, they were spreading diseases, making the Moors mum sick. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a few things that didn't quite land for me. What else was there? I think I wrote some other stuff down, but that did. But we'll see if it comes back. Let's talk about a few other things now, though. Let's see here. So, like I said, I did watch a bunch of reviews, trying to see what other people are saying, kind of get the gist of it, remind myself of things, blah 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 blah. One of the things that came up, I noticed a few times, is there seems to be a little bit of a negative reaction towards the fact that it is a female-led superhero movie. And as far as say strong male characters go, there really isn't that many. There was certainly no focus on the male characters in that way, apart from say Namor, who's the antagonist, and to a lesser extent M'Baku. But it is mainly you got strong female characters, Shuri, Okoye, Ramonda, and then to maybe a bit less than that. I forget the character's name right now, but let me say this real quick as well. Big up Michaela Cole. That's the lady with the daggers. That I forget her character's name right now, but the lady with the daggers with the blue, the one with she was in the wake at the beginning, and she's like, "Why don't you have the spares?" That her.
Yeah.
Big up Michaela Cole. She's done some TV shows. One called "I May Destroy You." Brilliant, superb. So yeah, big up Michaela Cole all day, every day. But anyway, so yeah, you had strong female-led, strong female leads, and then supporting strong female leads as well, with also with Florence Kasumba. What is your view on that? Is that something that bothered you? That's something that you liked or didn't like, and why?
About that, there's female leads.
Yeah, about the whole
I
kind of focus more the focus more to female, stronger female leads versus stronger male leads, and in particular as it pertains to Black Panther.
honestly, I feel like this is how you should do when you write strong female characters, right? This is how you do it. It didn't stand out like a sore thumb, and it didn't bring too much attention on like, hey, this is women. It just did the movie. It didn't focus on the fact that hey, these are women doing this. These are women, because when you have with your typical male leads and all that, nobody keeps saying, hey, these are men doing this. This is a man's job and all that. Just treat it with the same respect that you would any other movie. That's how you're supposed to do it. And I think that's what makes people start. You get the people who really harp on it, and like that one scene from Endgame, the infamous, the quote unquote infamous one. When you bring too much
Oh
attention
right,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, when you bring too much attention to
She
something,
has
that's when
help.
people attack. Yeah, like, come on now. But this movie, I didn't think about it once that, oh, wow, these are all women doing this. Because they didn't bring it to my attention. They just did the fucking thing, and it was a good movie overall. Um, Shuri, she's a fucking Black Panther. Yeah, I didn't go ahead and argue and be like, yeah, but she shouldn't be Black Panther. Nah, she's a fucking genius. It was already established since the first movie, and they didn't only have her in the first movie. They went back to her a couple times throughout other movies or whatever, referencing how smart she is. So I get it. And throughout the whole film, she's trying to create this fucking flower. Like
Yeah,
that's all she wants to do is create that fucking flower.
yeah, the
And when she
hectic
finally
curve.
did it, she's like, yes. And only to, you already know what happens. I know we're gonna get into that in a few minutes,
Mm.
but you already know what happens when she finally gets it. But yeah, that's when she was all mad. But anyway, I liked it. I really liked the way how they wrote these characters.
Mm.
Um, except Riri Williams. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I really feel like Riri, it's not even the actor's fault. The actor did a good job. It's just the character. Don't get it twisted. I'm completely talking about the character itself.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
actor did good. I want to see her play Riri Williams. I just feel like Riri should not have been in this movie. They should have took some time and said, listen, let's come up with something smarter. Or maybe take the character out entirely. I like what you said. I think it would have worked better, kind of working off of what you said, if Namor went to go and kill Riri or anybody in her place, and then now people are blaming Wakanda, and then somehow Wakanda finds out that it's these motherfuckers that did it. You know
Mm.
that would have been better.
Yeah, there would have been, well, at least a bit more in line with their
Yeah.
motivations. By the way, Anika rather, is the lady that is a character that Michaela Williams. I'm messing my names now. Michaela Cole plays uh, Anika. So yeah, but yeah, big up Michaela Cole. And if you haven't seen I May Destroy You, that is must see, definitely worth watching.
Okay.
Yeah, so for myself though, as far as like when I was watching it, it didn't like you were saying it didn't really occur to me as these are strong female leads. It was just it's a movie. I mean, for one thing, I guess you kind of knew that Shuri was going to take the Black Panther mantle. That you kind of knew that already, so that wasn't like a big surprise. But even still, I mean, the first movie didn't shy away from showing stronger female characters either. So it's not a surprise that they continue that. I don't say if you watch the first movie and you watch this movie, the way they handle the characters, the female characters, is in line with. I mean, I'm not familiar with the comics myself, so I won't say too much about that. But it's kind of in line with the story they're trying to create. It wouldn't make sense if all of a sudden Okoye is running away from things or you know, spending time fixing their nails or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what people were
Yeah.
wanted, but it was just an odd complaint that I saw mentioned a few times that there's too many. There's no male strong males in this. There's no strong males in this. It's like, does that matter? Like,
Baku was strong.
yeah, it's a good movie.
Namor.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I do find it somewhat hilarious though that anytime you do something like this, people use it. You often hear people say things like they're pushing an agenda. I think that's what you hear a lot. They're pushing an agenda, pushing an agenda, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, but I mean, Hollywood's been pushing agendas for a long time. Like, pretty much every movie they make is pushing some agenda or other. It's like that's how art tends to work. Somebody has an idea, and they create that idea. They put that idea out into the world. There's often messages within that idea. People push agendas. That's kind of what happens. You don't have to take that agenda on board and live your life that way if you don't want to. But generally speaking, the way art works is you have something you want to say and you make something that says the thing you want to say. Do you know what I mean? So it just seems odd to me. Well, maybe not odd. I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but it's funny to me. I should say that you typically hear these kinds of things where, like, you have a female superhero movie. They're pushing pushing agenda. It's like, bro, they did like what 10 years or more of like mostly males led superhero movies. You get like a couple of female superheroes and everybody's pissed off. It's like, dude, come on, man, come on. You said what?
Yeah, I feel
But
like it's such bullshit when you got people who they want to go ahead and sit there and talk about some agenda or that's woke or whatever. It's just pushing their own insecurities onto something.
mm,
Instead of just letting things breathe. Because anytime when you confront them and try to get them to explain what they're claiming is going on with these movies, they never have anything good to say. They always try to insist that you already know, oh, it's obvious. But honestly, that's just filler because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
mm, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And it's, I mean, to me, it shouldn't even be considered a negative or a positive. It's just a thing,
Yeah,
people exist in this world. Some of those people are men, some of those people are women, some of those people are strong, some of those people are weak, and all manners of in between. And there's a billion stories that could be told at any one time. You could only really pick one to tell, right?
yeah,
So, and if you're going to tell a story, you want to tell it as best as you can. And if you feel this is the best way to tell that story, so but yeah, I mean, like I say, we all have ideas on what they could have done and what they should have done. But I feel like when it comes to that, it's like it's not. It goes beyond thinking of, you know what I mean. It goes beyond oh, they could have done this, they could have done that, and more into. I feel at least this is how it appears to seems to me. It comes more into this level of entitlement that some people have, where they feel like everything must cater to them, you know, and if it doesn't cater to them, then they it has to be pushing some kind of agenda, and we must, yeah, this gets dumb after, it's like, bruh. If you like the movie, you like the movie. If you didn't like the movie, you didn't like the movie. Yes, they could have done that. They could have
exactly.
done this. In fact, you know what? I guess that's a good segue into this bit actually. So clearly they did not recast T'Challa, right? They did not do that. Um, and whatever the original script was, we don't entirely know. I mean, from what I'm
Actually,
understanding, or do we know?
yeah, I just watched something last night where apparently they've been doing podcasts, right?
Oh, okay.
Uh, the guy Ryan Coogler, the director, right, or writer,
Well, both really.
he actually, yeah, he actually revealed what the original script was supposed to be, and
Okay.
basically it was going to um, be more of a character focused movie, really focused on like T'Challa dealing with the fact that he was gone for 5 years. They were still going to have the fact that he has a child involved in the story, and just him coming to terms with like, damn, I missed out on the first 5 years of my child's life, and you know, just coping with that. Also, somebody was going to die, either his mom or M'Baku. They didn't reveal directly who, but it was going to be dealing with death. Killmonger, he was going to be there to confront, you know, through some ancestral plane or something like that,
Yeah.
confront
Yeah, they
T'Challa with
kept
all
that
these
bit. So
questions.
yeah,
Huh?
they kept that bit. So yeah.
Yeah. So he would have been confronting T'Challa about it. And of course, Namor was going to be the villain. But
Okay.
yeah, that was pretty much the original script.
In that case, then you could you might be in a better position to answer this question. Do you think, like, had they recast T'Challa then and got another actor, you know, and of course I know we all know that Chadwick Boseman did a great, amazing job as Black Panther, but they could get another actor who's really good as well. That could do the part, the moves, everything. Da da da. If they had they got another actor to fill that role, do you feel that could have been a stronger movie?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And what's the reason behind that?
It's just like we were talking about. These people actually had a bond with this character. You know how awkward
Mm,
it would be to recast him. These people are still mourning him, and doing this movie is going to remind them of him. And then you got this guy who, you know, the new actor at that point, trying to pretend. Well, not pretend, but that's how it's going to feel to. a lot of people.
Mm.
This guy is filling in this gap. It's like when you watch sitcoms and they replace that one actor, and then all the other actors have to just react as if this is always the norm. Like when
Mm.
they replaced, on Viv, Fresh
Right. Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's not going to be the same. So as much as people want to sit there, like in retrospect, it honestly kind of annoys me, not piss me off because I understand it as a fan, like an avid Black Panther fan. I would get it. I'm not one, but I've been I am an avid fan of certain things, so I know how it is sometimes to be like, no man, it should be like this. I get it, but shut the fuck up. Like sometimes you just gotta take that out. Things are not gonna go the way that you think they should go. And you just gotta set things for what they are. And what they did here was very respectful, very strong. It wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't just a money grab. None of that. Recasting Chadwick Boseman would have just been fucking foolish compared to
Mm.
what they created here. Something that they created here is unique. It's going to be talked about for a long time. It's not like a mind blowing movie. It's just one of those things where, like, this was very, art driven and, filled with a lot of emotions. It was unique. So when you go back, I say 5, 10 years from now, they're gonna still bring this movie up from time to time. Be like, yo,
Mm.
this is one of the greats. And it wasn't just because Chadwick Boseman died. It's because of what they did, the story behind it, and how they kind of recovered, despite everything that happened.
Yeah. No, I think I'd agree with that. I think I'd agree with that. I mean, I would say I was one of the people who I don't think I personally would have minded if they recasted T'Challa, um, because at the end of the day, everybody should have a chance at being in a movie, and if you can get a role in the movie, that's all good. You know what I mean? It's under unideal circumstances, but if that's what they're going to do, I feel like I would have been okay with it. That being said, yeah, you do have to consider things like what happened with everybody else, because you're now acting around somebody who could be just as good at actor, maybe even a better actor, maybe even a better Black Panther than Chadwick Boseman ever was. But at the same time, because of everything that's happening around him that this person has no control over, it just doesn't come across as well. And you've got all the other actors that maybe can't warm to him as well, because they're looking at somebody that's effectively trying to fill the role of somebody that they were close to, and
Yeah,
how does that translate on screen? So you could have somebody who's the best actor in the world, the best Black Panther in the world, but it just might not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily translate into a better movie when you consider everything else around it. So yeah, yeah, I feel that I think for myself, I feel like like I said before, I feel like what they did pretty much, I feel like they did the best they could. Um, Given the situation and what they created, yeah, definitely something pretty damn good. So yeah, well, we're apart from a few gripes, apart from a few things, but yeah, pretty damn good. So okay, yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that.
and
Um,
honestly, if they had replaced T'Challa, it would have just been another typical Marvel movie. And it would have removed a lot of, like I said, a lot of emotional weight that this movie had. Was
mhm.
because we knew, oh man, this is final. Like this guy's gone, and yeah, the character's gone, but the man behind the character is gone. And honestly, it was also good for people to experience it because it's almost like sometimes when people go to funerals, they get to have that closure.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people, because you got to realize Black Panther was, a big deal because it defied a lot. A lot of people want to go ahead and act like it's not a big deal, but trust me, it's a big fucking deal. Um, that it defied the norm that, oh, this is not going to make that much that much money because this is a movie that's a black lead, it's black culture. It's not going to make that much money. A lot of people are not going to go and see this. And it ended up being one of the biggest movies. grossing movies and all that. It really, showed people, yo, shit is different now. And it changed, it's inspiring for a lot of people. That's also why I do like the fact that they had Shuri, Okoye, Angela Bassett's character Ramonda, all these black women being in multiple roles, strong roles. Well, not Riri,
Not you.
but
Not you.
I do remember before I saw the movie and I saw like, oh, this is how it's gonna be. This is the cast. I was like, this is good. Black girls gonna see this, and not a lot of black girls get to look up to people too much, and in the Marvel or even superhero kind of thing going on.
Hmm.
There is Catwoman, but the only black Catwoman that we had on the big screen was Halle Berry, and we know how awful that was. So,
Hey, don't be knocking that Catwoman. She was pretty badass still. She took out a few dudes, bust
yo,
up a few robbers.
yeah, all
She did her
right.
thing still. She did her thing.
Nah, I think your eyes was just blinded because it was Halle Berry. You
Yeah.
saw Halle Berry wearing leather, and you were like, "Oh boy, this is a
And
hit."
um, yeah, certainly. Black Panther was definitely a big deal. One way or the no matter how which way you look at it, it was a big deal. Um, let me say this though. This may be my kind of controversial take. Like I know a lot of people look at this film as African, a representative of African culture, and I don't, because effectively it isn't, and that's fine. That's not a bad thing, by the way. That's not me trying to knock it. Um, but ultimately, it references, like, I guess a very kind of generic kind of view that Westerners have of Africa. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessary, because it's, for one thing, it's like how they created Wakanda in the movies, or how they created the culture of Wakanda in the movies, was by like taking bits from this tribe, this part, or these tribes and these tribes and these tribes from different parts. So it's very much a mix. It's not that it doesn't represent any parts of African culture. I don't mean that, but the film itself isn't necessarily a representation of African culture, because ultimately Africa is a big continent with lots of cultures. You know what I mean? Lots of many different types of cultures, and this kind of takes little bits from parts and puts them into this one kind of view, and creates this kind of idea of how most Westerners kind of think of Africa. But of course, this time they've got technologies and that kind of stuff,
Uh,
and that's not a bad thing. Um, but if you're gonna make a film that was maybe more, say, authentic in terms of a African culture, it wouldn't be Black Panther. It'd look a lot different. Um, but that's fine. That's just like one of the things you hear people say, and it's like how people that whole thing when people talk about, oh, white people can't go see this movie, and if you buy a ticket, give it to a black person, and it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. It's like, bro, it's a movie, it's a great movie, it's worth seeing, go see it. But let's not make it into something that it isn't. It's anybody could enjoy this film. The fact that it has a predominantly black cast doesn't mean nobody else can go see this film. That's like saying nobody can go see, I don't know, Inception or something. You know what I mean? It's you got to be white to go see Inception or something. It's like, come on, it's a
yeah.
film. People can see it. Anybody can enjoy it. Take from it what you can if you think there's something good in there. If not, leave it. That's it. It's a character created by a couple of white dudes back in the '60s. You know, bunch of Americans and Brits putting on fake African accents. Let's not make it more than what it is. It's a good film. It's a great film. But come on, you know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm not sure what I was going to say. I think I just said, and then kind of realized I didn't really have none in my mind, so it's all good. What was you about to say?
I can kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know too much about Africa. So I take from what what I could get.
Mm.
Only Africa that I know is Akon, Lion King. Um, yeah, that's it.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Man, we ain't gonna get go nothing else in it, or not on a big screen anyway. So but let's take what we can get. God damn it. But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not knocking the film at all. I don't mean to sound that sounds a diss or anything, because it is a great film. And Black Panther, the first Black Panther movie, is definitely one of my favorites. Maybe even my favorite MCU movie. You know, I watched it again recently, and it holds up so well. It is a brilliant film. But yeah, I'm just yeah. Um, but yeah, yeah, Africa's a big place. That's pretty much what I'm just saying. Africa's a big place. Um, so let's talk about three of the characters though. Let's just start with Namor, the antagonist. We mentioned a few things about him already.
Uh,
Um, but I know you say you don't really want to compare it to the first movie. I don't really want to do that either. But it's kind of difficult not to, you
yeah, you
know.
can't.
Watching the first movie again, one of the things I really liked about that film is the antagonist, Killmonger, and the way he was portrayed.
Mm.
Because before that, we've had villains who you understand, their reasoning. You have villains where you understand their motivations. That's been done before. What I felt was kind of different about Killmonger, or at least to my mind, and maybe this is something I just don't know, but whatever, is that he was so very singular in his motivations, in his goals, and in everything that he did. Like, there's not a single point in that film where he acts outside of what he's trying to achieve, and
Yeah.
even to the point where he when a point where he's trying to enact the part of his plan where he turns on Ulysses Claw. He turns on him, and Claw grabs his girlfriend. Grabs by the neck. He's got the gun to her. He doesn't hesitate. Dude just shoots her right away, because at that point it's like, look, you're in my way. You know what I mean? You're in my
Yeah.
way. And so he was so very singularly focused on what he was trying to achieve, and everything he did served that purpose. And with Namor, you just don't get that. It's not quite
Yes.
that. And beyond that, I feel like when they're giving him a backstory, I get it. He had they had the whole thing about the Spanish conquistadors that brought these diseases. His mother got sick. They drank this flower thingy they found in the ocean or something like that. I might be misremembering that a little bit, but they definitely drank something they found. They didn't know what it was. They just drank it because they thought it would make him better. Turns out it almost killed them because it changed their bodies inside. They had to go live in the waters for the rest of their
Yeah, it had
lives.
like traces of vibranium in it.
Yeah. And then, so he comes back after his mother dies, to bury his mother. He sees all the atrocities that they were doing to the people there, and how they treated everybody. And he just like, so he destroyed those guys. And they were like, they call him more. The main enemies call him. So they gave him a backstory. I understand his backstory. I understand his motivations. Cool. But at the same time, it did feel paint by numbers. You know what I mean? It didn't. Whereas with the first movie, you started the opening scene is Killmonger's dad getting killed, except you don't know that. You know what I mean? You don't know that. That's the opening scene, but you don't
Yeah.
know that. All you see is King T'Chaka come to see this guy, say, we're going to take you back to Wakanda because you betrayed us. That's all you see, and you see this kid looking up. And then as the film goes on, then you find out more about what actually happened on that day, and then you understand. So it's kind of revealing it as it's going along. Whereas with this one, it just kind of has this one scene where it's like, here you go, backstory. And okay, cool, I get it. But you know what I mean? It just felt like paint by numbers. Like, we got a villain, we've got to give him a backstory, we've got to give him some kind of complication. Let's do it all in this like 2-3 minute monologue as he's telling Shuri the story. Which, by the way, he had no needs to tell her like why he told her the story. It's purely for
Yeah.
the benefit of the audience. Shuri didn't need to know it. Shuri wasn't asking about it. There was no need for him to tell her. It was just like, look, we got this city that we want to protect. That's all he had to say. you know, but yeah, it just didn't quite land for me, and to me that kind of took away from the villain, because I feel like, because the idea of Namor is a badass idea, no doubt, but things like that for me just felt like he didn't come across as compelling as he could have.
Yeah.
Um,
I- I- If they had showed it at like the beginning, maybe I don't know. Nah, the beginning. Damn.
yeah, I'm not even saying that I know what they should have done. By the way, I'm just looking at what they did with the first movie,
No,
and
I know. I
you
know.
know,
Uh,
maybe because if you did this, you don't want to do the same things over and over again. I get that, but yeah, I just kind of wish they found a way to make that work a bit better. You know,
yeah. I
what
don't
was
know,
your
but
what was your thoughts on Namor as a character?
I, in the end, honestly, like I said, I'm gonna come off hypocritical, but honestly, it's hard as fuck not to compare it to the first one. Killmonger is one of my favorite characters of all time, of all
Mm,
fiction, after Michael B. Jordan's performance.
mm,
Okay. This guy, like that fucking character, like you said, he gets shit done, and that's one thing I love. I love villains that get shit done. No big speech and monologue and then get distracted by something and then lose. Like he's all about action, doing what he has to do, and he backs himself up, you know? And he's not a coward either. Like he may do some shit that you're like, yo, that's foul. But he's like, I don't give a fuck. I
yeah.
love that shit. I love that shit. Like you said with the girlfriend, I love that. He did something to one of the uh I can't pronounce it, but you know, one of the warriors in the first one, if I remember correctly. Um I don't know what he did, but he did something foul when he killed them while he was the Black Panther. And I was like, yo, this fucking guy
Oh,
is
was
this
it
shit.
Zuri when he kills, like, at the when they were fighting, and he kills Zuri?
I think so.
And so he's like, it was me. I betrayed your father. He's like, take me instead. He's like, I'll take you both. just like, all right, cool. I'll take you both.
I think I don't no, I'm talking about in the it was in the first one when they had the fight, right?
That was when he fought T'Challa. Yeah.
No, not
Uh,
T'Challa. Well, yeah, T'Challa ended up showing up in the end. But I'm talking about the two Wakandans somewhere on the side of Killmonger. My bad. It's been a while since I've seen the first one, but some Wakandans was on the side of Killmonger, and the others obviously were for T'Challa.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he ended up killing one of the bald headed women. I don't know how to
Oh
pronounce the
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. On the
yeah
Geek, because he was fighting with the or Malacha. Yeah, yeah, and he killed
yeah,
one.
and the one
And
that
he
he
had
killed,
just like
I
shoo,
just
across the neck. Yeah,
yeah
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
yeah. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I remember when I first saw that, I was like, God damn, this motherfucker's badass. He just won't stop. He's so fucking evil.
Mm.
I love that shit. Um, and when I saw him in this one, I was so happy. And here's the thing, it made me realize, yo, Namor is not that strong of a character. I'm sorry, he's not. And I will say this also, he's not a bad character, and I do feel like there's a lot of potential with him. Actor is great, by the way.
Mm.
Um, my only gripe with him was it wasn't his fault. It was goofy as hell with that one scene where he's on his back. He's like looking up at Shuri. You ain't gonna notice until you see it the second time because I don't think you probably noticed the first time.
Was it
I'm just looking too
during that
much into
fight
it.
or?
It was after they fought, like after she already burnt his ass up. He's
Okay,
on
yeah.
his back. It's like she's about to kill him, but she's like having a bunch of flashbacks. I feel like the flashbacks is a little too heavy handed. We didn't need that. They could have took that out and just showed the queen because that wasn't a flashback. That was like it was left to
More recent,
interpretation.
yeah.
Yeah, it was left to interpretation. I think whether or not Shuri believed into it now or what she wanted to see, it's up to you to decide. Um, But he was that whole time while they're doing the flashbacks, they keep cutting back and forth to Shuri, and then Namor, he's on his back and he's looking all goofy as hell. I don't know if you go. I wish you could go back and see that scene and
Yeah,
tell me if I'm tripping.
I'll
If
have a
I
look. Yeah, I
find
mean, I remember the scene you're talking about. I mean, I'm trying to remember how his face was. I'm not sure. From what I can remember, I'm not sure I'd call it goofy, but there, yeah, maybe I just missed something, or maybe I wasn't. Because I know
man,
a lot of people try to. I know there's something about Shuri and Namor and how some people. I don't get this. Let me ask this real quick, actually, because some people online seem to feel like Namor was putting the moves on Shuri. Um, I don't think I got that from the film, from the end of the
I felt like it
interactions.
was the other way.
That
I feel
Shuri's
like it
putting the
was the
moves
other
on
way
Namor.
a
Okay.
little bit. I feel like but I don't think she was like doing it like she's actually feeling him. I think she was trying to calm him down because the way she was talking to him when they were underwater, I don't know if she was just moved by what she saw, but shit, if Sherry was talking to me like that, shit, that would be it. We'll have a fucking submarine downstairs.
Well, let's not turn into that kind of podcast, but um, but
Shoot.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe if I watch it again, I might notice some things more. But when I was watching the first time, and certainly when I try to think back, I didn't feel like any of them were putting the moves, not like that. I mean, I guess to be fair, Namor is kind of a naturally smooth character, but it never really occurred to me in that way that he was like, trying to step to her, trying to move to her like that. You know what I mean? Trying to chirp her a little bit, but I don't know. I think he's
I
probably
didn't.
too
Yeah, I
old
didn't
for it,
feel
though. To be
like he
fair, I
was.
think he's probably a bit too old for her, so that might be a bit awkward. It might be a bit
I
awkward. I think
feel.
he's like 500 something years old, so yeah.
I feel like what he was trying to do was just, talk to her all gently and nice, trying to,
Hmm.
lower her defense, like saying, "Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just trying to protect my people. That's all I care about. I just care about my people." That's why I think,
Hmm.
honestly, I get what they were trying to do. At least I think I get what they were trying to do with Namor, but Namor just needed to, make up his fucking mind and also have some goddamn sense, or maybe even be a little more evil or
Hmm.
more of a bad guy. I would have liked it more if he was like a bad guy, like if he was straight up like, "Yo, I don't like you motherfuckers. Like you damn air breathers and da 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 da." Like if we
Yeah,
learned that
polluting the
he was just
sea.
like, yeah, like if he was like, "I've been watching from below the sea this whole fucking time what you people do, what y'all do to the planet, what y'all be dumping in my water, y'all dumping all this plastic in my water." Like if he's like, my people gotta go ahead and fight through fucking cans and plastic every damn day. All these straws up my nose.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Anything.
Trying to eat fish out here, just like plastic beer can holders just clogging up the place. Like, bloody hell, man. Trying to
Y'all
swim.
stealing all the fish. I don't like you people, and I've been holding back, but not anymore. Now y'all trying to go into my kingdom. Something like that. It would have been like, oh shit, y'all done pissed off the wrong person.
You
You
know what,
know?
though? Oh, sorry, I did interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. Sorry, my bad.
No, you didn't interrupt me.
No. Also, because I was going to ask a question, but it's admittedly kind of a silly question. So if you want to finish what you're saying, then I could get a bit
Nah,
silly afterwards.
I finished. That's what I was saying. You didn't interrupt me.
All right, cool, cool. Um, so these underwater civilizations, you got the Telecons and Aquaman, you got the Atlanteans, right?
Hmm.
Where do they poop and pee? you
In the
know,
water.
because yeah, like they have to just do it like just in the water. Like that means they literally
Yeah,
swim and live in their own toilet.
yeah. But it comes out stringy.
Okay. Wait, you have experience with this? Like, how what we base this? Because that you said that
You
like a
gotta
little
think
bit
about it.
factual. Like, what we base this on?
You gotta think about it. They don't eat human food, so their doo doo doesn't come out like ours. So it probably just comes out like fish doo doo, like all stringy and shit.
Okay,
I
so
don't
it's
know if
just
that's any consolation, but I mean, Namor is probably the only one with some big ass turds. Fucking big ass turds flopping in people's faces. They're like, oh, cuckoo clown.
I mean, I guess they eat fish though, right? I assume they eat fish and
I mean, fish
I
eat
guess
fish, but
various
their poop still
vegetations at
come
the
out
bottom of the
stringy.
ocean. I mean, they're not
They,
eating beef burgers and that like that, are they? Or
nah,
anything really cooked for the most
that's what
part.
I'm saying.
So interesting. Okay, so stringy,
Yeah,
stringy poop. So where does
but
it go then?
honestly,
It's just gonna be in the ocean, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
I mean, especially it's like okay, in this case, they've been there for like 500 whatever years. I think in Aquaman, not sure they say how long they've been there in Aquaman, but it's more than 500 years. I'm pretty sure. But that's all that time, all that poop from all those people, all those generations of people in down at the bottom of the ocean, pooping and peeing. And it's not like okay, I mean, when we poop and pee, it goes into the sewers and I guess I don't know, decomposes somewhere or something. I mean, does poop decompose when it's in water? I don't know. I might need
yeah,
to look that one up. It does.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I guess
It
eventually it
just
starts to decompose. Um,
yeah.
but as their populations grow, that's just more poop and pee at any one time. So surely that place is gonna be really hard to see when it's just swimming around because it's just like poop and
You
pee
you
everywhere.
you acting like these people eat Taco Bell every day.
But I mean, even with the stringy poop though, even with stringy poop, eventually it's gonna be just so much stringy poop that okay, maybe you could see through it, but it's gonna be like in your face and like walking through a cobweb. You know what I mean? Like you walk through a cobweb, you can see through it, but it's like it's in your face. It's gonna be like that, right?
I feel like this. Either the ocean's so big that it doesn't matter, or Namor had that shit happen to him one too many times. It's like we cannot live like this. He probably built some damn technology. First ever
Mm,
underwater toilet.
yeah, I guess. I mean, they got the vibranium, so they can do a lot. I suppose that's yeah. Yeah,
Vibranium toilet.
that's probably it. That's probably it. Maybe I don't know if they don't have vibranium in Aquaman, so they probably swim around in their stringy poop.
Man, Aquaman,
But
shit, who knows?
yeah, maybe these guys, the Talacons, figured it out. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's talk about a few other. I won't talk about all the characters, by the way, because we'll be here forever. But let's talk about a few. In fact, one in particular that comes towards the end. So T'Challa has a son. At the end of the movie, they reveal he has a son in Nakia, and I guess following the timeline, him and Nakia would have would have conceived the child sometime after, sometime towards the end of the events of Black Panther 1 rather. Like I mean, clearly after that, but like within I guess a relatively short time after that's what I mean to say.
Yeah,
Then you know T'Challa goes to help out with the end game. Infinity War people. Gets dusted. 5 years later, comes back for Endgame, and then they had that whole thing there, and then comes back five. Now, here's why I'm struggling with the timeline a little bit though. I guess because they say that Ramonda knew about the child, right?
yeah.
What's not clear is, and they wanted to bring up the child away from the royal family and that whole thing. So where I'm not clear is that okay, did Ramonda know about the child when he was conceived, or like right when he was born, or right then? And did they then are we going to take him away? And then if so, how come Shuri doesn't know? You know what I mean? Because that seems like the type of thing you tell your sister. You know what I mean? Like that feels like that type of thing you would tell your sister that you've had a baby, but I mean, I feel that's the type of thing you would tell
Well,
your sister before you tell your mother. You know what I mean?
well, yeah. Well, actually, um, the queen knew about it when she was pregnant because she had said to Nakia, um, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, you left Wakanda, after T'Challa disappeared and you were pregnant or whatever. You could have came back. I thought you would at least come back for the funeral.
Hmm.
And then when she was talking to Shuri, um, like before Namor first appeared, she was like, "There's something about your brother that I want to tell you." I think she was about to tell Shuri, your brother has a kid. I think what happened was, sometimes, you know, a parent will find out things and you wouldn't even expect them to find out, but they just know.
Yeah,
There's been
yeah,
that's a trope actually in movies.
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, they did it in a Crease too as well, actually. So yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah, so I feel like the mom knew, um, and that's why Nakia was all surprised, like, what the fuck, you know? Uh, I think the mom knew, and she didn't tell Shuri because there was no reason to really. And she was about to tell her, but then Namor showed up with his bullshit. That motherfucker, let me tell you, the first time he appeared and you got fuck the sound of like it sounded like elephants screeching. I was like, where the fuck these elephants come from? Like, I know we in Africa, but this has nothing to do with underwater shit. Like, ain't no elephants coming from the water right now. Could you imagine that,
well,
man?
I mean, it's not impossible. If people could drink some vibranium herb thing and live on the water, maybe elephants can too. So
Yo, if they had Namor riding out the ocean with an army of elephants, that would have been fire. I'm just saying Namor just came off a little lackluster for me. But again, my opinion is biased because I relate more with Killmonger. Killmonger comes from more of our culture than, you know, um,
yeah,
you know, whatever culture is Namor's.
yeah,
From my understanding,
Mesoamerican.
yeah, from my understanding, is more for like the Mexican people that he kind of like this is the first time they had somebody represent them, and that's why like it was such a big deal to have him, in this movie, which is great, because he's gonna be a reoccurring character, and I feel like he could only get better because this actor did show a lot of potential, and I don't have anything against the actor. I just feel like the character itself,
Yeah,
he has some weaknesses that needs to be, ironed out, but it's not impossible. It's not like Riri, where I was like, yo, take her out. Just take her out this shit.
yeah, it's abundant.
Riri has
Bun it.
so many flaws, boy. Like I could go on and on about it, but let me just sum it up as this. One final thing I forgot to say about her,
All right.
and I won't hate on her anymore. She shouldn't have built that fucking Iron Man suit so fast. What the fuck were they thinking? What
Oh,
the fuck were they thinking?
yeah.
That pissed me off. Like I didn't think about it too much in the first time because it happened so fast that I was like, ugh. And then I had to, that ending was so powerful that I kind of forgot about that whole thing. But when I watched the movie the second time, I was like, this is some bullshit. This is some absolute bullshit. You got think about it. Iron Man took about fucking 1, 2 movies before he got a fucking Iron Man suit like that and was able to control it, right?
To be fair though, we don't know how long Riri's been making these things or working on these things, and she would have maybe not directly had access to Tony Stark's work, but would have at least seen it and know that okay, that's not going to work, or this is a good idea, or things like that. So it kind of, I mean, potentially it can make sense that she was able to build it so fast because one, she could have been doing these things for a long time and we just don't know, and two, she would have been working off, or at least whether directly or indirectly, off of what Tony Stark had already done. So kinda. I mean, yeah,
Nah,
great. It's probably not explained. Probably, I don't think they explain that he went in the movie, but kinda,
I feel like this. She's too young to be like, oh, she was doing it for years. And then two, if you're doing something like that, you're gonna be found out. At least somebody's gonna hear about
Well,
you way
apparently CIA
before.
knew about it, so you know what I mean.
I'm saying like that. That's something huge, massive. She built a
Mm.
whole fucking Iron Man suit exactly like Tony Stark, and then know how to pilot it and everything on the fucking fly. She talking about, oh well, my father used to be a mechanic. Like, man,
That's how it works in comic book movies. What if your dad did? I mean, Tony Stark's dad was an engineer, so he's good at being an engineer, right? That's how it works.
yeah, but Tony
That's
Stark
how it works.
established that he was doing crazy shit since he was
Mm.
a kid.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then you see him build that fucked up Iron Man suit, and then he just kept working on it, working on it, working on it, and then he was fucked when he first made the first suit. I mean, not the one in the cave, but after he was out,
Yeah.
it took him a while to get used to it, and then he had to make some more improvements and all that
Mm.
shit. So you got to see him work on his craft, and you're already, and he's older, so you get that. All right, he has some time underneath his belt. Riri is like fucking 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, and that's kind of thing I suppose as well is that I get that she. I mean, I understand that she's supposed to be like this mad genius, um, but it doesn't quite come across. You know,
Yeah,
I think
it
a lot of
doesn't.
the character doesn't quite come across. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's an issue with trying to present geniuses in different ways. Because anybody could be genius, and well, not anybody, but you know what I mean. You don't have to be there's not one way to be a genius, and her genius presentation that well the way they presented her is kind of different to how we're used to seeing. And that's fine. That's fine. But at the same time, I just felt like I get it. I understand it. She's supposed to be this genius. She's supposed to be someone who create all these things and do all these things and know how to fly because she's been working on this, blah, blah, blah. I understand that because the story makes that clear. But it's not quite landing either. You know, at the same time,
Yeah,
it's kind of like,
honestly,
really?
they
You know,
they
really?
really made her too stereotypical, in my opinion. I feel like this was an opportunity to do something to avert those expectations.
Mm,
If Riri had been this like really nerdy girl, like I'm not talking about like glasses and all that shit. I'm talking about the things that she's into. Yeah, by appearance, you would assume that she is the way she is in the movie as now, right?
mm,
But the moment she started talking, that's when she should have been like talking about all this nerd shit, and even had Shuri kind of like taken aback, like, how do you know about this and how do you know about that? That would have been like, okay, this girl is something different. But instead she's like doing the whole smart ass talk, and things that we always seen before from teen characters.
mm,
Like, this was not the time to do that. I hope in her show, her writer
mm.
treats her with
Ironheart.
respect that she
Yeah.
deserved. Because I would love to watch that show and enjoy it. I don't want to watch it if she's going to be anything like she was in this fucking movie. She's not an awful character. It's just, I don't want this character because I've already had plenty of a character like this
Mm,
before. I'm not interested.
yeah. I
We don't need another smart ass teenage character that always has a one liner or a fucking joke every time when they open their mouth and something sarcastic. We don't need that.
well, you just might be getting that. We'll see.
I hope
um,
not.
all right, let me get back to Charlie's kid, Charlie's son for a minute because there's something I wanted to say. Um, so yeah, T'Challa had to summon Nakia, and they decided to raise him separately from the throne. Um, but yeah, what's not clear, at least not to me right now, is when they made that decision. Did they make the decision, say, when she got pregnant? You know, say very shortly after Black Panther one. Did they make that decision after he came back from being gone for 5 years after being ghosted? Did they make the decision then? Because like if you made that decision to raise him away from the family, from the royal family after they came back after 5 years, after the ghosting, after the dust and everything else, okay, I get it. Maybe there's things going on, and he wanted his son away from that, and they kind of agreed that it wasn't a good idea. Blah blah blah. If, if, however, they made a decision, say shortly after Black Panther one, the kid's pregnant, it's like okay, we're going to raise him away from the royal family. That just makes him a deadbeat dad. Like let's be honest. Like that makes him a deadbeat dad. That he was about to have a kid, and he sent his wife or his girlfriend away. But like, nah, you're gonna raise her on your own, innit? That's what that means. So like, depending on the timing, yeah, depending on the timing of when that decision was made, will determine whether he's a deadbeat dad or whether he just made a decision based on unfortunate circumstances. Is what I'm. That's what I'm getting at.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he made the decision because, the situation involving Killmonger, his father, well, their fathers, and the Black Panther before that, he saw the lineage of the royal
Mm,
his royal family at that point, right? And he was worried about his son going through that. I don't remember exactly who said that. I know I'm not saying that was in the movie,
sure.
but I remember somebody. I don't know if it was a reviewer or somebody talking about a podcast. Uh, that Ryan Coogler did. But if I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of that.
I mean, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the decision does make sense in that respect of everything that's happened, everything that lineage comes with. Um, I get it. You kind of look at your son like, do you really want this for them as well? And heavy is a head that wears a crown, as they say. And maybe just what you look at your kid like, I just wanted to have a life like everybody else. And that's what I kind of meant before about. I feel like that's the type of thing you tell your sister before you tell your mother if you're going to make a decision like that. That being said, yeah, if he sent his kid away, he said a deadbeat dad. Like let's let's keep it real. Like the bottom line is he got some girl pregnant and sent her away to go raise a kid by himself. Like that's the bottom line. Regardless of how much that decision might have made sense, bottom line is he sent his kid away. Um, I keyed. But I mean, he did. But yeah. Um, well, yeah. So, another character I wanted to talk about. Let me check my notes real quick because for I forget. Um, because I mean, definitely loads of characters in the movie. We can say something about. Let's talk a little bit about Okoye, and I don't think I got his name, but the warrior that he was fighting, Telecom Warrior.
Oh, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about. The big guy.
Yeah.
I
Um.
fucking love that fight.
Yeah. There's a few. There's like two or three instances where they fight, and all of them were spot on.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about those scenes is there was a clear mutual respect between them. That even though they're on opposite sides, even though they have no problem killing each other, there was like a respect from one warrior to another warrior, and especially like when the first, I think it's the first time they're fighting, and Okoye becomes disarmed, and he could have killed her. He could have killed her, or at least attempted to, but he was like, "Nah, get your stick, get your
Well,
spear."
I don't mean to cut you off, but I thought the same thing. But in my second viewing of it, this
Okay,
motherfucker was talking shit. I thought the first time when I saw it, I thought, oh man, he don't want to kill her because he realizes how much of a warrior she is and she shouldn't die like this. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, all right, I like this. Man, I paid attention to the fucking subtitles the second time. This motherfucker said, "You're not worthy of my blade." I'm like, yo, I
Oh, you
wish
know
you would
what?
say
Yes,
that
he
to
did, didn't
me.
he?
Yeah,
He did, didn't he?
motherfucker. Yeah.
Oh shit!
Piece of
You
shit.
know what? I remember now. Yeah, no, oh shit, I remember that bit. Oh, that slipped my mind.
That
Oh, that little
motherfucker.
detail slipped my mind. But yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But I will say
Well,
this.
apart from that, they
No,
had a kind of
I'll
respect
say
for each other.
this. They may not have respect for each other, but they have honor, and that's what I like.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's maybe a
Because
better way of
it's
describing it.
dishonorable to go ahead and if he had killed her like that, going in for the kill, even though she doesn't have a weapon in her hand and all that.
Yeah,
The
maybe.
fact that
Yeah,
he gave her a chance, you know, that's honor, and I like that. I like the fact, and if I remember correctly, she didn't get to kill him at the end, right?
no, because they called it off at the last
Yeah,
minute.
yeah. I like that. I don't feel like any of them should have killed one another, because who knows? This fight might happen again. I want it to happen again. And if it happens again, this is your opportunity to do callbacks and show a character arc.
Mm,
This guy goes from talking shit like you're not worthy of my blade to being like, damn, what's your name? Or something like that. Like,
mm.
I'm gonna remember that name or some shit. I love when movies do that or shows when they have like these two giants in their own respective army. They clash, like they finally meet, they fight, and they start to learn respect for one another. I like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think honor is definitely a better word to use in this case than respect. Because yeah, he was kind of disrespectful, let's be honest.
Yo,
But yeah, certainly there was an honor in there in not killing somebody that is unarmed. And I like when I think it was a third time they fought, second or third time they fought anyway. It was the last time they fought where she calls him out, and the way she calls him out, she just shouts "warrior." You know, and I think, did he say the same thing to her earlier?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think
because I think
so.
might be a part where he refers to her as warrior, and then at the end she says to him warrior, and they kind of fight again. But yeah, there's no killing because they become friends, I guess, kinda, sort of, temporarily. There's a scene with Okoye, though, which was brilliant for me, and it's a scene where she's being stripped of her rank of general, and she's like, "Have I not given everything?" And just a level of emotion in that scene, and what I really liked about it is when Ramonda responded about have I not, or she says herself, "Have I not given everything?" And she talks about events that happened in the first movie, you know, and why it actually made sense why she would strip her of the title of rank, the rank of a general, and dismiss her from the Delora Milaje, because it wasn't just in this movie. Because I think at this point, I hadn't, when I watched Wakanda Forever, I hadn't watched Black Panther for maybe a little while, so it wasn't that fresh in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
but as watching Wakanda Forever, it's like, oh yeah, you know, she did say that she wanted to take Shuri on this thing. It would be good for her. She'll look after her, be fine, blah blah blah. And then Shuri doesn't come back, and at that point, they don't know Shuri went on her own accord. They just think she got kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, part of me is like, it was just that one thing she got wrong, or that one mistake potentially, right? But she's like, no, actually, you sided with Killmonger when he took the throne. Um, and she mentioned something else which I forget as well, which I forget right now. But there was a couple of things that she mentioned, and the whole thing with Shuri in this movie. So it's like, damn, that actually makes sense. You know, it's like when you put it like that, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. They're a stripper. But when she's like, have I not given everything? You can see how much being a general in the Laura Manje means to Okoye. And when she's like, yo, permission to speak, and she's like practically begging her to reconsider. And Ramonda, being a queen at that point, is like, no, have I not given everything? She talks about her own loss in that scene, and it was just wow, just you know,
Yeah. But I mean, you expect nothing less from Angela Bassett.
mm,
So, um, seeing these two go back and forth with their acting chops, like magic, man,
mm,
magic. I love that scene. Um, I really hope that that scene gets acknowledged, for something. It deserves
mm-hmm,
some kind of award, one of them or both of them, because it's one of those things where you see these, outside the whole comic book shit, these are actors acting,
yeah,
and that's what movies are about sometimes. Like
yeah.
seeing stuff like that, you're not going to see that every day. You're not going to
Yeah,
see that every day.
no, for sure.
And
I heard some rumbles about Angela Bassett possibly could be in the runnings for a best was it a supporting actors award. I don't really pay much attention to like Oscars and Golden Globes, and to be honest, they never did interest me. They never, or at least very rarely, celebrate the films
man,
that I care about.
okay.
So I don't pay much
I,
attention to them. But yeah,
listen, I
I,
pay attention sometimes, especially when my boy Leo finally won. I was like,
yeah,
good. You should have won a long time ago. I'm always on that Leo train. Still am. What?
hello. Oh, okay. That's thinking it cut off. Like, just it just stopped. I was like, did a
I
microphone
thought
cut
you
off
had
or
a
something? What's
problem with
good?
Leonardo DiCaprio. I was about to say,
No,
yo,
no,
we
I ain't
gonna
got no problem
fight?
with Leo.
Like,
He's a cool actor. He's a good actor. Um,
because I said I'm
yeah,
always on that Leo train, and then you
yeah.
just stared. I'm like, we got a problem.
Hey, you know what I mean? What did he get for the Revenant? He got it for. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
where he
he's
was
done
in
his
the
thing. He's been doing
fucking
his thing
woods
for a while.
getting, he had to get mauled by a goddamn bear
Yeah, he
before
like
he got,
scratched and crawled all his way to a Best Actor
crazy.
award. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think we're gonna see Leonardo DiCaprio in any comic book movies though. Uh, I don't think so. Not certainly not anytime soon. I don't think so anyway. Which is kind of a shame, but oh well,
I mean,
it is what it
who could
is.
you even see him playing as? Like, you
I
know?
mean, they could find something for him. I mean, if he wanted to, but I don't think he does. I mean, apparently he advised uh what's his name, Timothy Chalamet, to not do comic book movies. Um, so yeah, I doubt he'd be doing
Well,
any.
I mean, that's different. That's different. I can see why you would advise somebody not to do it. Like if they're, they're kind of, they're not already established, like big,
Mm,
because you don't want to get to the point where you're stuck and that's the only shit that you can get. Like for example, unfortunately, Tom Holland is stuck as Spider-Man for now. There may come a time where he could break out of that, but for now, he's Spider-Man. They try to cast him in Uncharted. Everybody saw Spider-Man. We didn't see no fucking Nathan Drake. Come on. Come on. But that was unfair to Tom Holland anyway, because he shouldn't have been as Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is this, you know, older, gruffy, kind of like, early 30s kind of looking dude, you know? He should be played by somebody like, I mean, I wouldn't choose this guy, but physique wise, um, Ryan Reynolds, right? That's the type of look that you would be like, all right, that's Nathan Drake. But then you get this little young motherfucker, no disrespect, but Tom Holland looks like he's still a fucking teenager.
it was a younger Nathan Drake. I mean,
Yeah,
I've not seen
well,
the movie, so no spoilers, please, for that.
no, I haven't
But
seen the movie.
he's supposed to be younger Nathan Drake, as far I understand. But yeah, I've not seen
Well,
that movie yet, so I'm not
either
sure what they're
way,
doing.
I listen. I played the games. I wasn't a big fan of the games, but I played the games. Not once did I say, yeah, I could see Tom Holland playing this. No, even that voice. I'm sorry, but that's what Leonardo DiCaprio is trying to warn that actor about when you get stuck in a role, because once that role goes up, then that's all you're depending on. I mean, the good thing about Marvel is that they could keep using you, like they could keep bringing you
Mm,
back and be like, hey, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to come into this show, okay, okay. You will always eat as long as you're liked. Now, if you're
yeah.
not liked, you gonna be one starving motherfucker. Shoot.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a second. Actually, kind of a little bit off topic, but yeah, it's kind of come up, and it is something that's kind of in the general news as it happens every now and then about comic book movies and their validity, and whether people should do them or not, and people have different views on it. For me, I just feel like it's always going to depend on what exactly your goals are as an actor, because I wouldn't say it's because yeah, you're right. I mean, there's certain times where the character is bigger than the actor, and there's times where the actor is bigger than the character.
Yeah,
And for example, Star Wars, uh, you don't go to watch a Star Wars movie because of a particular actor is in it. You go to watch a Star Wars movie because it's Star Wars. And same with the MCU. A lot of times you're going to see an MCU movie because it's Marvel, because it's connected to this whole big cinematic universe. Yeah, the actors are good, and maybe you recognize this actor from this show or whatever, this movie, and sometimes they have famous actors in them and this and the other, and that's great. But ultimately, that's not the reason you go to see it. You go to see it because it's Iron Man, because it's Captain America, because it's Doctor Strange, Spider Man. You know what I mean? Whoever the Marvel character is, or the fact that it's related to Marvel, is the main reason most people are going to see it.
yeah,
Whereas DiCaprio, he's maybe right now amongst very few movie stars, like old school movie stars, in a sense where you go to see a film because it's DiCaprio. You know what I mean? Like he's the draw a lot of the
yeah.
time. because he's a good actor, because he typically makes really good movies. He's the draw, you know. So he does a movie with a about a thing that you've never heard of because maybe it's an original story or it's not based on a movie, so it's not based on a video game, it's not based on a comic, it's not based on a book. It's just an original idea that they've made. He can do that, and he can draw a crowd because it's Leonardo DiCaprio. A lot of times, and no disrespect intended, but let's be honest, a lot of actors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe haven't proven themselves in that way, right? So it's not that he never will. I'm not saying that, or they can't. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. But as it is right now, you go to see the movie because it's Marvel and not necessarily because it's the actor. So if your goal is to be a movie star like that, then yeah, you probably want to stay away from Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, or any kind of big franchise type movies. You know, he already did Dune, but I don't know if you could call Dune a big franchise. I mean, it's big, but you know what I mean. It's yeah, it's not like a Marvel type big. So maybe
Yeah.
But you probably do want to stay within those types of movies, right? DC, any kind of comic book movie like that. Whereas if your goal is to just keep working, then do what you can. You know what I mean? And yeah, like you say, Marvel could be a good way of doing it, especially now they've got the TV shows and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it just depends what type of actor you're trying to be, what your goals are. But yeah, I don't think anybody should feel embarrassed or anything like that for doing a comic book movie. I think if I was an actor, I'd love to do the types of movies that aren't even that big. Like they just have like a small cult, not small, but just have a decent cult following. Stuff like Sharknado. Those are the types of movies I'd want to be in. I wouldn't care about whether I win best actor awards, and I want to be like the B level, B movie type films. That's what I'd want to do. So but yeah, I just think it depends on what your goals are fundamentally, and well, I guess so far Timothy Chalamet's trying to get to that Leonardo DiCaprio level, or maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I could, I would love to just be one of them side characters that everybody loves, and shows up in almost every goddamn series. One of them joke characters. I'm good. I'll be good on that because that's a good paycheck. It's not too much pressure. I'll come in, I say some jokes, say some lines, and people go like, "Oh, it's that guy. Oh man, I love that guy," and that's that.
Yeah, I feel like I was talking about this with my previous guest actually. So if you haven't already, check out that podcast. Look, cheeky plug for our own podcast. But anyway, let's talk about this with my previous guest, Zio Zanardo. He's a grime artist, and similar sort of thing. Like you said, the ideal level of fame. Like how famous could you be before it becomes a problem? And what we're saying is that I feel like that kind of point is where you could be famous enough where like hardcore fans might recognize you. Like every now and then somebody spots you and be like, "Oh, that's that guy from such and such," and they know who you are. But vast majority of people have no clue who you are. They might have just seen you in a movie, right? They might have seen your face literally just in a movie they just walked out the cinema on. They'll walk past you and still won't recognize you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like kind of the thing where it's like you say, you maybe look familiar. You're kind of familiar. I've seen something before. Did we go to the same school? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But they don't actually know who you are. But once in a while, that one hardcore fan's like, "Hey!" So yeah. I feel like that's where that's a cool spot to be.
Honestly, I feel like the way I am, I'm so like antisocial that I think I will end up walking past somebody that like one time I was on the train, right? And I forgive me if this comes off even a little bit racist in any kind of way. Just a big disclaimer,
Okay.
I'm not.
Well,
okay.
you have to say you're not racist though. Like,
yeah, I am not racist.
By the way, I'm not racist. Right. Really?
And no buts. See, there's
right.
no buts.
Well, if you're gonna cancel anybody, cancel Sweet. This is why he doesn't show his face. Don't show his face. Don't give his real name. If he gets cancelled, Sweet Bunny gets cancelled, not me. I'm not famous enough to get cancelled yet. Wait till I get famous, then you can cancel me after this podcast. Yeah, but First, cancel Sweet Bundy. I've got nothing to do with this. All right, cool. Go ahead.
So I'll say this. Um, One time I was on a train and it was an Asian couple on there and they were dressed very, very nice. Like very, very nice. And I was like, holy shit. I don't know if they're famous or not. I kind of want to take a picture of them, but what if I'm taking a picture of a regular ass couple that just happens to be dressing nice? But I was like, I live in New York and we're right by Times Square. That's where a lot of, like famous people, whether they're actually like celebrity status or even like big time streamers, a lot of big time streamers like to come to Times Square because they get to put their little fucking thing on the you know what I'm talking about, right? Like where they
Yeah.
show the advertisements. We show them on the buildings and shit. Not like it's like billboards, but now it's like actually attached. I don't know how to explain it, but it's
I think I know
like
what you
built
mean because
into the
we have a
building.
similar thing in London and Piccadilly Circus where it's just like this big kind of like advertising thing. It used to be
Yeah, it's
physical ads, now it's
animated,
all
right?
digital and
Yes.
screens and stuff
Yes.
now.
You know
But yeah,
exactly what I'm talking about then. So we have, we got that all over Times Square. You could pay money to have them do it. So a lot of big streamers, well, not big streamers, but streamers that are getting up there in numbers, they like to go there and do that and then take pictures of themselves and post it on Twitter. Like, look, guys, follow me, all that shit.
yeah.
I'm not hating on them for doing that. I'm just saying. So I'm thinking like, yo, these might be K-pop stars or some shit. And I'm like, damn, man, I don't want to take a picture of them because, like, I don't want to be a creep if they're just normal people. And I don't want to ask them if they're famous because what if they're not famous and they're going to be like, what the fuck? But yo, they were dressed so fucking nice. I'm like, nah, son, ain't no way. Ain't no way. But in the end, I decided not to take a picture of them. And still to this day, I don't know if they were famous or not. Because I don't
I
pay
thought that song
attention
was gonna
to it
get
like that.
racist, man. Like I was like, shit.
Well, you know how people are. Some people are sensitive and they're like, wow, so you're telling me Asian people can't dress nice without you accusing them of being K-pop stars? How do you even know they're Korean? I'm like, oh, come on, man. I just said I said K-pop because that's the thing now,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I can understand that. I mean, I come across a few people that I don't know if they're famous or not. You know, they could be, they might not be. I know that I don't keep up with a lot of the new famous people, so who knows, right? And sometimes you kind of walk past somebody and, it looks like somebody's making a big deal out of them and you just kind of like, oh, okay, I have no idea who that is, but all right. Just keep it moving, like, keep it moving. All right, let's kind of bring it back on topic a little bit now. Then, also we done with our casual racism. Uh, so let's talk about just one more character for now. The main character, Shuri. We've talked a little bit about her, but let's kind of talk a bit more about her kind of journey throughout this movie, throughout Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Starting off at the beginning where she was trying to save her brother's life, and then it not coming not coming to fruition, and T'Challa passes away. Then we have the funeral. Then she's the princess because Ramonda's now queen, and she's, I guess, kind of just like living her life to some degree. Not, she's doing what she can, but this whole thing with Namor happens, and then getting kidnapped and, well, not kidnapped, but taken away, and everything she kind of goes through as she does. Her mother then dies, and now she's taken up the Black Panther mantle by recreating the synthetic version of the heart-shaped herb. She had a big journey throughout this movie, and a lot of ups and downs, or maybe more downs, really. Very emotional. And like you said before, Letitia Wright was incredible. She pulled it all the way off in this film. Um, and going forward, I guess we will see Black Panther as Shuri now. But now that we've kind of been through this whole journey, what do you think this does for her character? Because before in Black Panther, in the first Black Panther movie, she was I don't want to say the comic relief, but definitely a more light-hearted character in the film, where she's joking around. She's the kid sister. She's a bit more playful and that kind of thing. And she maintains elements of that in this film near the beginning, but certainly by the time everything's done, it's like it feels like she's taken on this massive responsibility of the Black Panther. She's not Queen of Wakanda, but she is the Black Panther, which is still a huge responsibility as protector of Wakanda. What do you think
Yeah.
this does to her character? Do you think she still could be this, light-hearted, kind of easygoing, little bit jokey, taking the piss a little bit, as M'Baka referred to her as somebody who shirks her duties? Do you think we still see that or elements of that, or do you feel like it's now all business?
I feel like Sherry could still be a little friendly, but um, I do want to see her be more mature. She kind of did that towards the end, honestly. Well, actually, no. Once her mom died, no. Towards the end, after everything was resolved, you saw her talk to Riri, and she made a couple of jokes. I feel like that shows you pretty much how she is at this point. She's able to go ahead and be normal, now that she got that part of her settled, because she was just angry, and rightfully so, because in a way she probably blamed herself for her mom's death. But what I really liked what Shuri said was when Mbaku was like, "Listen, your mom didn't want you to go to war. She wanted things to be done with this, done like that, et cetera, et cetera." She's like, "It doesn't matter what my mom wanted.
Mm,
She's gone. So all those dreams, hopes, and what she wanted, and the way she uh, thought, and the things that she believed in, it's all gone. It doesn't matter. I watched her drown,
mm,
and I get that. Like that's how death is. It doesn't matter, what the loved ones that came before you or whatever passed away. It doesn't matter. They're gone. It's up to you what you want to do at that point. Do you want to carry on with what they wanted, or do you want to live your own life and make your own decisions? You can. It doesn't matter to them, regardless of whether you believe in an afterlife or not, because they have no control over you at that point. You control your own actions, whether they're depending on the experiences you have with that person or not. You make your own decisions, and that's why I liked about Shuri. She was making her own decisions at that point, and she was the one that decided, okay, I'm not gonna. I could kill this guy right now. Now, Killmonger, that mother man, Namor would have been dead as soon as that motherfucker got hit with the fire. Okay, shit, man, probably man, Namor probably wouldn't even have reached that beach. Okay, that's
oh
how
yeah,
Killmonger would have
Killmonger
been.
will not have hesitated. The moment they figured out how to kill him, they'd have killed him.
Man, Killmonger would have killed him and the people, and probably a couple of Wakandans by accident. Like, hey, man, it was a necessary sacrifice. Yo, oh man, but I really like they showed Shuri as like her
Siri,
own
man called
character.
her Siri.
Yeah.
Man called her Siri. It was like Apple or something. Actually, you know what? Shuri's voice as like the Apple Siri would be awesome. They should
I mean,
they should do that.
they kind of got something like that. If you change your Siri's voice to African, it
Yeah,
kind of,
it's probably
yeah.
just some generic thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, you could try it out after this.
Nah, I
You'll
don't
be
have Apple,
surprised.
so
You don't
I
have.
don't. Nah, I don't use Apple.
All right, all right, all right.
Apple's.
No, it's okay. I'm not. You're just lucky. I'm not one of those people because this would be the perfect time to rack on you.
Listen, if Apple can get Letitia Wright to do the voice of Siri, then I'll move to Apple. Other than that, I
Well,
don't
I
know.
don't
No.
know because anytime you ask about COVID, she's like, "It doesn't exist."
I don't.
It
Hey,
do-
listen. She can have her opinions. I don't mind. That don't bother me. That don't bother me. She doesn't want to get vaccinated. That don't bother me. She has her opinions. I know there's some controversy on the set. Apparently, she was saying things. I don't know how true it is, true or not. It don't. She can have her opinions. I don't mind. Still, big up. as far as I'm concerned, it's big up Letitia Wright all day, every day. I've seen her in some other stuff, and she's always been incredible. I've seen her in a Black Mirror. I've seen her in Top Boy. Um, she got a movie out that I have not seen that I do want to check out. So yeah, I might not agree with her views on COVID and whatever, but you know what? As far as I'm concerned, big up Letitia Wright all day, every day. So yeah, get her to do the voice of Siri in Shuri's voice, and I'll move to Apple.
Well, me, I feel different. Um, I like what she did in this movie. Great actor. Um, but those are some shitty ass opinions that she had and shitty decisions that she made. You can have your opinions, but you gotta realize when you're in this kind of company, Disney associated, you're gonna have kids looking up to you regardless, and risking it where people, celebrities, they always say, well, I'm not trying to be anybody's role model. Well, you can't help it. Sometimes you got that comes with the territory that you're involved with. A
Mm,
rapper is different. A rapper, they make rap. Fucking kids shouldn't be listening to that shit anyway. But when you're in a movie that's based on comics and associated with a company that mainly made products and shit for kids, you're gonna have kids looking up to you regardless, especially when you're a black woman, right?
mm.
You're gonna have black girls, black boys looking up to you, and shit, not just black people, shit, kids in general. And you make these opinions, then all of a sudden they feel like, oh well, I shouldn't get it done because so and so. And you'd be surprised how many people say that.
Yeah, I mean,
And my
no,
thing is
yeah,
like, no, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you. Because I do think there is such a thing as social responsibility, which we all have to some degree, some more so than others. And yeah,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you want to be a role model or not, that's not something you choose. You don't decide that. People decide that for you. They
Uh
look
huh.
up to you, they respect you. You're a role model. It just is what it is, whether you want it or not. So yeah, I do think there is such a thing as being aware of how our words and actions could affect other people in various ways. That being said, I do also believe that everybody has to be honest with themselves first and foremost. And, you know, if we're encouraging freedoms of speech and, freedoms of expression, we have to allow for the fact that not everybody is going to have the same opinion on the same thing. And the idea that only one opinion should be put forward versus, two or three or four opinions should be put forward, I feel like that just leads to an echo chamber of ideas that isn't necessarily healthy. Ultimately, when it comes to things like, yeah, kids could hear it, kids might think this and kids might think that. This is where I feel like if you're a parent, if you got young kids, this is where you need to be having these conversations. This actress said such and such. I'm gonna go do such and such because this actress said that. That's the conversation you got to have with your kids. I get it. It's not always easy. It's not always fair or whatever, but it just is what it is. They're gonna have to, because the way the world is, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, people are always going to say what's on their mind, and it's always going to get out there. You're going to have mainstream artists saying this thing, mainstream artists saying that thing, and then kids hearing it, whether it's through rap music, whether it's through podcasts, whether it's through interviews, or whether it's through hearsay, Twitter, things like that. There's so many avenues where all you got to do is turn something on. You have to be looking for it sometimes, and it's just there. One way or another, your kids are going to come across some kind of opinion, some kind of idea, some kind of thing that you think is whether abhorrent or wrong, or you just flat out, don't want your kids to hear. But that's not a conversation you got to have with your kids. Whether it's their young kids or whatever, that's not a conversation you got to have. Whether it's about COVID, whether it's about sex, whether it's about drugs, that's not a conversation you got to have with your kids. And talk to them about what it means to to when you hear these things and how it factors into your life and where what's good, what's bad, and this that, and the other, and and from there. So yeah, I haven't heard all her viewpoints. And to be honest, the stuff that I have heard, I'm not sure she actually said because it was kind of rumors and stuff. but assuming that's all true, yeah, it's not something I personally agree with. But if those are her views, she's allowed to have them, and I ain't got no damn kids to have that conversation with, so I'm good. But yeah, ultimately, if you do, I think if you're a parent, then it's just that's how the world is now. Your kids are gonna come across. I mean, kids are coming across like porn these days. It's so easy to find porn. You know, that's a conversation you gotta have with your kids. You know what I mean? It's just yeah. It might not be right, it might not be fair, but if that's what they're hearing and those are the things they're seeing, that's a conversation you got to have with your kids, and probably sooner better rather than later.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, only because, you can find so much on your damn uh, phone or do everything on your phone.
Mm, yeah. Um, but yeah, with kind of got a little off topic again, but so good, so good. Um, but yeah, no, with her character though, yeah, no, I think yeah, it was incredible, and yeah, I think like what you said earlier, I think I'd agree with that. That she probably would maintain elements of her original character from the first movie. But my guess, at least, of course, we'll see what they actually do, and we'll go from there. But my guess would be that from here on out, we are likely to see, a much more kind of focused Shuri, or certainly someone who becomes more and more focused, being the protector of Wakanda. You can't take that lightly. You can't treat it like a joke. You know, I mean, Spider Man's kind of like this guy who's a bit comical at times and a bit, but then he's not protector of New York. Not really. I mean, he helps out, but it's not like he protects and it's not quite the same thing. He helps out New Yorkers. He's not like this official protector of a whole city, whereas Black Panther is a protector of a whole nation. And that's not just your family. That's not just your friends. That's the whole nation. So yeah, I feel like we are probably likely to see mature, a more focused Shuri, a more mature Shuri, a more serious Shuri, but yeah, still with elements of the original Shuri.
Yeah, I mean, it's like seeing, you know, a teenage relative get older. They're no longer, like being all childlike and immature and etc. You
Hmm.
know, she went through some traumatizing things, man. She couldn't save her brother in time. Uh, her country's in war again.
Yeah,
Her cousin, you already know the story with her cousin, and then
that was
for
cool,
her
by the way.
cousin to be the one that fucking, that she saw.
Yeah, I thought that was a good touch. Actually, I liked that a
Yeah,
lot because I was fully expecting to see Ramonda show up, but then when he showed up, I was like, you know what, that makes sense. That one
yeah.
100% makes sense because she, like, she was angry. She chose him without choosing him. She was angry at that time. She was looking for her. She was more Killmonger in that time than Ramonda, than T'Challa, than
Well,
T'Chaka.
remember, when you do that, you can only see the past Black Panthers.
Oh wait, oh okay.
Yeah, so that's why it could
Oh,
never
so
be
yeah, yeah,
Ramonda.
Ramonda wouldn't be
That's
there
why
anyway.
when
Okay,
they
yeah,
had
yeah,
that one scene towards the end where Ramonda showed up and Sherry's mind saying, "Show him who you are,"
yeah.
that's left to interpretation. You don't know if that Shuri actually received that message or if it's just what Shuri wanted to see or needed to see. You know what I
Ramonda actually
mean?
says that in the first movie. She says that
No, I'm saying,
to
remember, she
T'Chaka.
was
T'Challa,
shown in the
sorry.
fucking thing, the ancestral plane. Remember?
I remember, like, I mean, when she was fighting Namor
Uh huh.
and she was about to kill him, and she has all these memories and stuff,
Yeah.
and one of them was show him who you are. I thought that was just a memory. I don't think that was an ancestral plane or anything. Or
Nah, that was in the ancestral plane because they had the same background with the trees and the purple skies and everything.
okay, I might be misremembering that bit then. Okay, because I remember hearing it. Guess I can't remember the background. Okay, so she
Yeah,
was in an ancestral plane looking type place when she said it. Then
yeah,
okay, okay, interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think they did say something in the first movie about the joining the Black Panthers, because when he goes to ancestral plane a second time in the first movie, you know, T'Chaka was like, "Yeah, it's time for you to come join us," and it was like all the previous guys before. Um, but then, well, no, ancestral doesn't necessarily mean family. Actually, to be fair, so yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, and when I was watching the cinema, I was expecting to see Ramonda, but yeah, of course, Ramonda wouldn't be there because she wasn't a Black Panther.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was expecting to see Ramonda in that moment, and then, but yeah, when Killmonger showed up, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. She chose him without choosing him.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was gonna be there, but at the same time, I was still, like, yo, he's here. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm just a fucking big Killmonger fan, son. This boy
Yeah,
Michael
man.
B. Jordan plays this shit so fucking raw, and
Mm.
I'm so disappointed. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, I love this character so much that when I first heard about them talking about they want to recast T'Challa, I said, man, fuck recasting, just bring back Killmonger. Shit, do something where you could have this motherfucker come back somehow. Say that he was all right in the end. Say
Yeah,
T'Challa put his
didn't
ass in,
actually die. He
use
just went to
something,
sleep.
yeah, like he passed out, he woke up, he's like, I told you bury me in the water. Like he's all mad, like where's the water? Where's the
Yeah.
goddamn water?
Mate, that line though, in when he says that line in the movie, he's like, "Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who knew to jump from the ships because they knew who jumped for the ships because they knew that death was better. Um, death was better than bondage." Mate, when he dropped that line, first time I
Yeah,
saw that, I was like,
yeah, man.
and even watched it again just recently, just a couple of days ago, and I was watching it again. I was like, mate, just chills, man.
Yeah.
It was so just on point.
Man, honestly, they could have even had, what if T'Challa did put his ass in the water and then Namor found his ass, or Namor's people found his
Ooh.
ass,
Oh, how cool would
fixed
that?
him up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what they would have
Oh,
done.
you
I would
know
have ate it
what?
up.
That could have been sick though.
Yeah, man.
Oh, like
And
he
then
just dipped over in
everybody's
the
like
ocean
trusting
and
his
he
word.
ends up drifting away, and they're like, because he would have had some vibranium in him at the time because of the heart shaped herb, right?
Yeah.
So they might be like, "Hey, we're detecting one of our own. What's going on?" And it's like, "No, it's not one of us. What's going on?" You know what? But there's ideas, man. I like that idea. That could have been sick. And
Man,
maybe he
I
comes
would have
back with
ate
his whole
whatever they.
army.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yo. That's my boy, man. I wanted to see his ass alive, but fuck it. At least I got to see him,
Yeah.
and I did not want his ass to leave that screen.
Mm.
He was talking so much shit. He always has to say something that makes you go like, God damn, you kind of right though.
Yeah.
When he said, "Hey, don't take that away from your mother. You see, your father, if it was him, he would have let that girl die. Like your mom was
Mm.
the brave one, putting herself out right in front of that girl, sacrificing her life. Your father would have never done that."
Yeah. And well, he's not wrong. So
Yeah,
he's not
shit.
wrong. So yeah, because well, we saw what Daddy did with with his own brother as well. It's like,
Yeah,
well, and leaving the boy to fend him for himself. All right, well, ain't exactly a nice thing to do, is it?
yeah, man. Now, one question I got for you
All right.
is, what do you think about the whole M'Baku becoming a new king?
That was done very subtly, wasn't it? Because I
Yeah,
wasn't even clocking that when I first watched it. It was only kind of afterwards where I saw apparently Winston Duke mentioned about becoming the new king, and I was kind of thinking, oh right, because of course I'm sure he doesn't tell up, does he? So I guess he wins by default. Um, I don't have an issue with it. I guess the way they did it was maybe a little bit too subtle. Well, for me at least, anyway. But the idea of him becoming king, cool. I mean, they've already established that the king and the Black Panther don't have to be the same person. You know, they've
Yeah.
kind of established that already, so that's fine. They're not breaking from anything. It's just now Shuri is Black Panther, M'Baku is king of Wakanda, or at least until somebody challenges them, and then we'll see. Uh, but yeah, no, I think it is a good choice. I mean, when you think of the choices that are there, Wakabi, who was played by Daniel Kaluuya in the first movie, you know, he's the one that sided with Killmonger. According to the story, he's in prison, so I don't know if prisoners can still challenge for the throne, but maybe, right? Um, but yeah, I guess who else? I mean, maybe Okoye could challenge. I mean, she's not leader of Delora, Dora Milaje anymore. Um, so maybe not, depending on what specific rules are. To be honest, of course, the rules are a bit odd to me anyway, because when T'Chaka died, it went to T'Challa, right? And
Mhm.
then he had to do the whole challenge day thing. But then when T'Challa died, um, I mean, he had a son, but not a son that anybody knew about. So it went to his mum. And that's why I'm like, okay, so how come it just didn't go to his mum initially? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I also am a little bit confused about how the actual thing works, because it seems to just kind of go up and down a little bit. But aside from that, yeah, I don't have an issue with M'Baku being king. Good for him. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah. I like Mbaku a lot. I just felt like the way they did it, like you said, was just kind of, I don't know. They could have did that a little bit better. It just was like out of nowhere. Like they just showed him, and he's like, "Oh, so I got no challengers." And then it's
Mm.
like, "Oh, okay." It's like,
Yeah,
what?
because
What the fuck? What the
he
fuck
says
was
that
that?
she will not be showing up today. I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
Does he say something about a challenge? Because I might be maybe forgotten something. Does he actually say something about challenging or anything like that in the movie?
Something like that, if I remember correctly. I I kind of remember it, but I could be remembering wrong. Either way, it was just too fast, and at the same time, I feel like Mbaku should have had a better fight scenes in the fucking movie. Like he got punched by Namor, and
Yeah, got winded,
yeah,
didn't he?
he
Like,
got
woo!
fucked up.
But that punch should have killed him though.
Then he almost drowned at one point.
That punch should have killed him. M'Baku should be dead the way that hit. The man went flying. He ain't got no like vibranium Black Panther powers. He's just he's a big dude for sure, but he's a regular dude. That punch that caves his chest in. You know? That guy should be in a
Yeah,
hospital right now. Forget being king of Wakanda. That man should be in a hospital. What is going on?
you ain't lying. But that's my boy, man.
Hmm.
I like that character.
He was a cool character though. M'Baku.
Hell yeah.
In the first movie, actually, he's very subtle in the first movie, but he's very much like shown to be. Um, I, how can I describe it? It's like he kind of has an ego, but at the same time, he's not an arsehole. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like he's like for example, he challenges T'Challa for the crown, and his whole speech about, for far too long we have watched from the mountains, and he's giving his whole speech about, talking about Shuri being the princess that shirks her responsibilities and everything else, and he goes, I Mbaku, I challenge, and so he has like this kind of arrogance about him in there, but when after that fight ended, and he's saying to him, the fight ends by him yielding, and he's saying, because T'Challa is saying, yield, your people need you. You don't make me do this. Effectively saying this, and so he yields, and later on when he's found by the fishermen and they bring him to they're looking after him and he's talking to T'Challa and he says to him like it was a life for a life, you spared my life and now I help too, because you see there's an honor about him as well, that
Yeah.
he's not, yeah, he's a bit arrogant, maybe he's a bit full of himself a little bit, but at the same time he also understands that T'Challa getting him to yield was a better choice, because in that moment he probably wouldn't have. In that moment he was in his arrogance and he probably
Hmm.
would have, because I think he said it himself about I'd rather die, um, but he kind of recognizes it was the right choice for him to yield because his people needs him. He needs to be a leader, and he sees that hadn't been for T'Challa's own mercy, his own people could have been in disarray and everything else. So he feels like he has to return that kind of that debt of gratitude, so to speak, by helping him and looking after his mother while he goes off to fight Killmonger. But he was like, "No, we will not be joining you in that fight." But then he has a little think about it, and then he does go join him. He's like, "You know what? Let me go help this nigga out." But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I like M'Baku's character from both movies. He's a good character.
Yeah. I love Mbaku. Um, like honestly, it you know, he's never gonna measure up to Killmonger. I'm just saying that. All right. I can't let go of Killmonger. I just can't. All right. But um if they could go ahead and have Mbaku get a little bit stronger, do a little bit more, I would love that. I don't care if it's just little scenes. He
Well,
doesn't
he's
have to
king
be a
now,
big
so
character.
yeah, he's got
Yeah.
power at least, political
Yeah.
power. If not physical power, he's got political. Well, he's still a strong dude anyway. He's not a weakling,
He's still
so
strong. I
yeah,
just
he's a
don't want to
strong
see him
dude.
get his ass kicked like he did
Yeah,
in this movie again.
yeah.
Because that shit was embarrassing.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Killmonger would never. And Killmonger be like, all right, bet. Cool. You'll see him go away for a few fucking scenes, but for come out of nowhere with a damn rocket ship or some shit.
Yeah. Do some
Shit.
push-ups.
Yeah, man. Shit.
All right,
Man.
all right. Yeah, I think that's a good place to start wrapping up this episode, this podcast episode. We talked for quite a bit about this movie.
Yeah.
I have one more question though before we end today. Um, and perhaps the most obvious question, perhaps the that comes up because we kind of sort of mentioned it already, but to get your opinion on this, in a fight, a straight up fist fight, right? Who do you think wins, Namor or Aquaman?
Namor.
Yeah,
Straight up. Yeah.
what?
Aquaman's a bitch.
Really?
Even Jason Momoa's Aquaman. I like Jason Momoa, but
Oh, by the way, yeah, the
Aquaman's
movie
a bitch.
versions. Forget the comics because that's just long. But okay, but
Yeah.
Jason Momoa, Aquaman. Okay,
Yeah. Straight
all
up.
right. I mean, I think Namor will win. I think I agree with that. But
The
Aquaman's a
only way
bitch.
I see Aquaman winning is if Namor doesn't have any. No, even then, nah. If Namor doesn't have control over fish and all that shit, then I could see Aquaman possibly winning, right? But other than that, nah, Namor will fuck Aquaman up. You talking about a straight up fist fight? Namor,
In the
man,
fist, yeah.
Namor will mop Aquaman. Aquaman ain't ready for that smoke.
No,
Aquaman compared to Namor, Aquaman softer than baby shit underwater.
I think no, I think Namor would win. Ultimate, I think Namor would win. But I wouldn't call Aquaman a bitch. I mean, those movies, yeah, maybe not that they're not great, whatever, blah blah blah. But Aquaman's not a bitch. I mean, he's pretty much bulletproof, you know. Um, so Namor's gonna have to punch hard, which we know he can do, but he's gonna have to punch hard. And Aquaman, he can handle himself. You know what I mean? He can handle himself. I think Namor would win. I think Namor is probably a more skilled fighter as well, and I think he's probably physically stronger. But yeah, I don't. I don't think Aquaman's a bitch. Like, I don't think it'd be like a cakewalk for Namor. I think Namor could have to pull out some heavy duty fighting skills to beat him. But yeah, I do think he'll win. But nah, Aquaman's
I'm
not a
looking at it like
bitch.
this. Namor has, like you said, more strength than Aquaman. He has way more experience. And plus they're coming from the same kind of background. Yo,
Hmm.
Aquaman stands no chance against Namor. When you put all those factors together and when you really think about it, like that's like asking that's like if Mike Tyson in his prime, Iron Mike Tyson, who never aged, right? Never lost that will to fight, right? Was in boxing for hundreds of years, maybe, or over 100 years. However, fuck old. I
Yeah,
think they
it's
said
like
Namor is
500 years or
over.
something.
Yeah, imagine Mike Tyson boxing for 500 years. Iron Mike Tyson,
Hmm.
yo, and then you got motherfucking uh, whatever boxer that's popping right now, like the guy that got knocked out by Tyson Fury. I forgot his name. He's a
Oh,
good boxer though.
yeah, I know.
That's with a D.
Deontay Wilder.
Yes. Like, yo, no, not happening. Not happening. Type man, woof.
I mean,
And
I'm not
no,
sure that's a fair comparison. I mean,
what
I
I'm
want to
saying
pick
is they're both
you
from
want
the
to pick a
same
fight that
element.
doesn't get knocked out so much, but
Well, Deontay Wilder, he hasn't been getting knocked out like that.
it was the suit. The suit was too heavy. It was a suit. It was his boxer's gloves. It was.
Nah, Deontay hasn't been getting knocked out like that. It was against Tyson Fury though, yeah. But that's because Tyson Fury is that motherfucker's crazy. All right. Even Mike Tyson was like, I don't know about this guy. Shit. Deontay Wilder, man, boy, that motherfucker, he reminds me of like the boxing version of M'Baku. Big as hell, fast, strong. Like, nah. See, yeah, you could look like that all you want, man, but if you you were in front of Deontay, you be like, all right, man. I was just kidding, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Deontay Wilder listens to this podcast, but on the
You
off
better
chance he
hope not.
does, on
You
the
better hope
extreme
not.
off chance that he does, I'm just joking, by the way. Yeah, just
it's
playing around. I don't mean nothing by it.
just
You know what I
it's
mean?
just
Like,
podcasting things.
yeah, I'm just playing around. You know what I mean? Internet, you know how people are on the internet. Everybody talks big on the internet because, like, you know what I mean? It's the internet, but I'm just playing around. I don't mean nothing. I don't mean nothing. All right. Well, for anybody listening and or watching, yeah, let me know what you think. Who wins between Aquaman and Namor or Namor? I say Namor because that's how he pronounces it, but I don't know Namor, whatever. One of them. Who do you think wins in a fight between Namor and Aquaman, and in a fist fight, straight up fist fight? And yeah, let us know what you think of the movie as well, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. But that's going to be all for now. Also, drop any recommendations or suggestions of other movies or TV shows or things you want to see discussed on this podcast as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for the minute. So, guys, my man, Sweet Bundy, big up to you and all that you do. Appreciate you coming through. Get well soon. And I managed to
I'll
make that all
try.
rhyme. Respect that rhyme. Respect that rhyme. Put some respect on that rhyme.
Hey,
Um,
I'm ready for the mixtape.
yeah, coming, man. Coming. Best done, no. But yeah, appreciate you coming through. Appreciate anybody
I
listening and or
appreciate you
watching.
asking.
Whether you, that's so good, brother. But yeah, until whenever, if ever, peace out, y'all.